Coltin Cole, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's a pleasure. We do have a wide variety of guests, but I would say that our community is definitely much more like catered towards the martial arts.
Sure.
I'm sure people already know who you are, but for the uninitiated, I like to kind of give like a brief synopsis of the guest, if you don't mind. Coltin Cole, I think you've fought now for what, man, 20 years? How long have you been in martial arts?
Yeah, I had I boxed before I did MMA, so did MMA when I was 18, and I'll be 37
So
next
I'm
month.
not too far off, right?
No.
20.
20 years.
I mean, because I'm also factoring into the equation the years of training before. So I mean, if you got into amateur boxing,
Yeah.
how old were you when you got into boxing?
I was still older, 17, 18.
Okay, so not too
Yeah,
far
no,
off.
I wasn't into it too much. It was just when I started doing MMA, this was like the height of Chuck Liddell, right? This is not like it is now. So there wasn't a lot of people that knew how to actually get MMA fights for people, right? Let alone any gyms where I was at. So, in order for me to get some like experience before, because I wanted to do MMA, but it was a lot easier to get amateur boxing matches. It was MMA.
Got you. So would you say that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say that amateur boxing was the route early on simply for the ease? Just because MMA was still nascent and it wasn't as popular as it was. So, like you were saying, getting fights, getting alignment with promotions, it was just more difficult.
Yeah, it was. It's one of those things where it's like I don't know, when you're young and I've just decided that I wanted to fight. You know what I mean? And boxing matches just kind of came about, and I was always I don't know. I was a, I guess they would say, natural puncher, right? Other than I didn't come from a wrestling background, I didn't come from judo, anything like that. So first thing
Was
was
striking martial
striking.
arts.
You know what I mean?
What was what was the catalyst for you to kind of move from boxing to mixed martial arts, if you don't mind me asking then? Like why'd you step away from not that you stepped away from boxing, sorry, but why did you transition from boxing to MMA?
I kind of just transitioned into boxing to do MMA. That makes sense.
Interesting. So you
So
always had MMA in the back of your head.
yeah, I mean, and you got to think this is like I'm fresh out of high school. I'm in college. Like this isn't like I said, very very unpopular at the time. You know, extremely. Um, but going kind of growing up, I didn't want to fight. I was kind of scared to fight. And then when I came across UFC and those things, I was like, man, I guarantee you that guy never has a problem with anybody. You know what I mean? And it kind of turned into, man, if I do that, maybe I won't ever have to fight.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
So it was kind of like it wasn't like for the glory or for the love of combat or anything, but it was more for security.
Yeah, it was like that. Also, growing up, my dad would never let me do taekwondo or karate, and I was a huge like Ninja Turtles fan. You know what I mean? So, and it was also like, I was 18. I could kind of do whatever I wanted at that time. So if I wanted to go do it, I could do it. And I, took my opportunity. But it was more or less, I started it so I didn't have to fight.
When you started on the path of martial arts, what was the reception like from your family? Because you were saying that your father wouldn't have let you done certain things when you were younger. You turn 18, obviously it's a little bit more difficult to tell your kids what to do when
Yeah,
they're no
yeah.
longer kids.
And it wasn't that like my dad didn't like, he just didn't like, he didn't know anything about like taekwondo or like, he kind of just was like, whatever. You know what I mean? But my dad, he was within like a boxing program with like a youth club
Oh,
in
okay.
my school. My grandpa, his father, we'd watch boxing, HBO boxing all the time when I was over late at night, and he would be, sitting on the couch, and I'd get in front of him. He'd try to show me one twos, like so, kind of a boxing type family they were. So when I told them I wanted to do like MMA, one, they just thought I was fucking crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah,
Foreshadowing.
yeah. It is what it is.
What was that like then, out of curiosity? Because you're 37, I'm 33. So when you started fighting at 18, I was literally, I don't even think I was a freshman in high school yet, or like I was maybe like 8th grade, right?
Sure.
And I remember when I was in high school, that's when I started wrestling. And that's also when I started watching like the WEC and the UFC. And I remember thinking to myself, kind of similar to what you were thinking. I was like, man, these guys are real badasses. Not that I didn't think boxers were badass or anything like that, but because I did a grappling martial art, I was like, well, boxing's cool, but it's on the press, like on this pretense of like, I can't take you down. We're not going to kick the legs. It's kind of just a rule
There's a
based
lot of
martial arts.
rules, right?
Well, there's a
Yeah.
lot of rules in wrestling too. So don't get me, I'm not trying to like, belittle boxing in any way. But when I saw MMA for the first time, it like blew my fucking mind. I was like, whoa, they can kick, they can punch. That guy just threw an elbow, a knee. This is crazy. Oh my God, what are they doing on the ground? Because I didn't know what jujitsu was.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of like wrestling, but why is he going for the limb? It was an eye-opening experience for me. And it was an eye-opening experience for everyone around us because no one knew, right? Now, obviously, by the time we're talking now like 2008, 2009 for perspective, it's not as if it was like UFC 1, right? So like the world had gotten inundated with jiu-jitsu and the proliferation of it had begun, but MMA was still very nascent, right? What was it like fighting? I mean, you fought for Strikeforce way back in the fucking day, back before MMA was popular, back before this like a surgence in terms of the zeitgeist of humanity. Now it's
Right.
like one of the more popular sports on the planet, right? But what was it like? I don't want to say like on the underground or doing it like helping the sport grow, but that it is kind of what you did. You know what I mean? You were there as kind of like not the original pioneer, but second generation.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. We didn't really know what I was like when I was fighting like Strike Force and all that. Like, I was coming off of 22. I had 24 amateur MMA fights, right? And out of one of the
Jesus
biggest
Christ.
gyms in the country, the Hit Squad, Matt Hughes' gym, right? So it's funny, all the guys that I trained with, like, for me to talk to somebody that's been watching the UFC for the last, let's say, 8, 9 years, you know what I mean? I could tell them, I sparred with Robbie Lawler. Me and Neil Magny were amateurs at the same time. I drove Neil Magny to his first pro fight. Um, those guys they can relate to. All right, Neil's been in there forever. Robbie was a champion, right? But like at that time, when I would go and tell people, "Oh my God, I just sparred Robbie Lawler," they were like,
Who's that?
Who's Robbie Lawler?" I'm like, "What?"
Give
You
it
know what I
time.
mean? It was just crazy, So
Implying that they were still like world class athletes, world class fighters, and they were doing the damn thing. Because Robbie Lawler had the first stint in the UFC way back in the day
yeah,
before he went to Strikeforce, but and then obviously would come back to the UFC and ultimately become champion. And now I think a Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, he was. I mean, he was. Most people nowadays don't know what Bodogs or Elite XC. You know what I mean? Uh, Island fight, shark fight, like all these. I mean, these were like huge in our world at that time. You know what I mean?
When Matt Frazier was on here from Knuckle Junkies, we were
Uh-huh.
having a conversation about like when I came up in MMA I was like 19. So maybe if you had your first fight at 18, I would have started training when you were about 23, 24 for
Yeah.
perspective. And I didn't realize how golden that time was in terms of how many gyms we had in the area, how many promotions we had in the area. I want to say like there was an amateur card or a pro am maybe every other week
Yep.
for the whole year. It'd be like Nemesis down in not by close to Cape, but not all the way down to Cape. Then you'd have Jim Jenkins, you'd have Fight Hard, you'd have Shamrock, you'd have if I'm forgetting any promotions, I'm so sorry.
So my brother had 618 MMA. That was in Southern Illinois.
Southern Illinois.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it was all kind of this St. Louis, Illinois kind of region, Southern Missouri, all that. But
We just came to the conclusion that that was like quote unquote the golden time because there was just such a buzz about mixed martial arts and everyone was so excited about it. There wasn't a whole lot of popularity or money in it, to be completely frank with you. And you could also make the argument that even though it's more popular today, the money's still not there. But it was like just buzzing. I remember for 3, 4 years, all I cared about, it was really tough on me because I was going to school, like university, and I just could not care less about school. I was like,
Right.
man, fighting's just like the fucking shit. This is so cool. And I'm learning jujitsu, I'm learning boxing. I was just so enamored with it. And it wasn't until I was like 27, 28 when all, gyms started dissolving and they started, coalescing towards other gyms. Like when shut down and then they went to St. Charles MMA. And I mean, a slew of gyms have shut down since then. CMAA, the original gym that I trained at, and a lot of promotions consolidated. Now I believe you only have, at least in the St. Louis area, you have St. Louis Fight Sports. They do like 2 or 3 cards a year. NFA, who does like 2 or 3 cards a year, and Shamrock, who does I think like 5 or 6 cards.
Well, look how much they watered it down since then. Back in those times where all these promotions were doing great, all these amateur, pro-am, you had a UFC once every 2 months. So what were these diehard fans going to do? They wanted to see mixed martial arts. Well, these local guys, they could set up venues in between those big UFC fights. You know what I mean?
I never thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right. Because the pay-per-views used to
there's
be
only
this,
pay-per-view.
dude. My Buffalo Wild Wings would be like the one in South County was packed. You would have to do like a reservation like
Yeah.
a month ahead for like a
Yeah.
UFC card, and then it got so busy to where like they made you do. I remember me and my buddies got like a table of 6. This is kind of anecdotal, but it was interesting. They had like a $200 minimum. That if you were going to reserve the table for a UFC pay-per-view, at the very end of the night, if for any reason your bill was under $200, they would jack it up to $200. So $200 minimum.
Yeah.
And this was rough for us because we were like 19, 20.
Yeah.
So we couldn't drink. So like, dude, it's hard to do a $200
Dude,
tab on
it's a lot.
food.
It's a lot. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. It's funny. I got down here a little early, and I driving, kind of just looking for a place to change my clothes and kind of hang out. And I seen a Buffalo Wild Wings, and the first thing that went through my mind was like, "Damn!" Like the UFC fights at these places. I mean, most of them are
Were
closing down right
electric.
now. I'm talking about the busiest place on a Saturday night, like by far.
I will say that I miss that too.
Oh, I miss it.
Like there was something to be said about being somewhere. I will say like I like the ability to like stream. There are aspects of the Paramount Plus deal that I enjoy, right? Like it's nice, it's easy. I can watch from my couch. However, it's hard for me to explain to people. Like you guys don't know what it's like to like be hyped for a card for a fucking month and you show up and everyone in that venue was wearing like affliction shirts or tap out shirts. It was like just this like it was an ecosystem of fighting.
Yeah.
And everyone was talking about fighting and everyone was talking about how they were training. And I mean, we were all so ignorant too, to be completely honest with you, but that was half the fucking fun.
Oh yeah.
We just didn't know.
It's like when UFC fights were on, and if you showed up to the house, whoever bought it and all chipped in, you showed up 10 minutes late, you missed a fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Paramount now, you can just go down and like just after the event, I could just watch whatever fights I want.
After the event, dude, in between the commercials, I can just
Yeah.
scoot back.
Back then, yeah, you had to watch them all. You knew every fighter.
Do you think that that helped or hurt in the sense of building stars?
Hurt. Are you kidding me? If you have, you could make a star if you have 100 people in every division, right? It's like what people do in casting on reality shows, right? I grab my star, right? Now what do they have? Thousands of people per division. Like anymore, like even if I go to do like to even watch any UFC fights that are going on, there were old training partners, friends of mine, people I'm fans of, and I'll scroll through like the other fights and I won't have any idea who these people are. And you look at it, it's like, oh, he's ranked number 15, 14. Like never heard this guy's name before in my life.
And it's a shame because we did agree on this, me and Frazier. I'd be curious if I know you would. Fighters have never been better. Like the actual skill set of these guys is insane.
Monsters.
But it's so weird because like you would think that there'd be a correlation to star power and fighting acumen. Like the fighters of today, I hate to say it because I'm a fighter from yesteryear, but they were better than when like a 20-year-old today would smash a 20-year-old version of me, right? It's just the sport is older, they're more educated, they have a plethora of things to learn from, right? Yet, to your point, I don't know any of them. So are they killers? Yes, like absolutely. No shock or no shy on their skill set. But man, I'm not invested at all like I used to be. I used to be invested for these UFC cards. Like I said, like we would be hyped for like a month straight. I'd be in my econ 101 class, and I had this guy who also trained, and we'd be talking about like, dude, BJ Penn, GSP. We were like balls to the walls, and like the whole card, we were talking about all the
Absolutely.
fighters coming up
Yeah.
for a whole, like I think 3 weeks, 4 weeks out. We were hyped for it. We were just like, oh my God, 2 more weeks. Oh my God, next week. You know what I mean? Now it's like, I'll be honest with you. I'll fucking forget that there's a UFC. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a UFC on tonight. Man, I'll flip it on.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to. I don't want to sound like. When I say these things, I want to be careful that I don't sound like sour grapes or anything like that. It's just it's truly how I feel about it. I've never been more impressed with the quality of fighters. But I said this once, I'll say it again. The UFC is no longer, it feels like they're no longer in the business of creating stars, that the star now is the brand. That they want everybody to think it's kind of like the McDonald's approach. Like every UFC is a quality UFC. The fighters are all good, so it doesn't matter who's fighting. But if it doesn't matter who's fighting, then it doesn't matter to watch. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I would say like
That's why WWE grosses more than the UFC. Make that make sense.
it's one, they supply demand, right? There's a huge demand for it. How do you meet demand? You put more guys on the roster, right? So just like any other business, if I need employees, maybe I'm going to relax a little bit on what I think should be qualified for that gig, right? But I will say this right now, I don't think there's many people in the UFC that aren't qualified to be there. You know what I mean? Like, especially looking back, like
You
how
mean
hard it
skill level?
was, like,
You mean like
skill
skill
level.
level? Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody's just so good.
Good, yeah.
The one thing I hate now though is that everybody. It seemed like when all my teammates and stuff like were going in the UFC, like when I went pro, there wasn't ever the thought in my mind, or my coach would never allow me to think that I need to build a record. I just need to win to get there. He said he would always tell me, because I would ask, all right, well, who am I fighting? He said, does it matter? I'm like, I don't know. Is he wrestling? He's like, doesn't matter. He's like, you're not in the UFC. You want to be there. He's not in the UFC. He wants to be there. You can't beat him. You don't need to be there. And like now, I feel like these guys build their records really good. They get in the UFC, and then they just fight to win. They turn into, all right, if this guy's not going to strike, I'm not going to strike. Maybe I'll just get a takedown, try to win the rounds. But like, it seemed like back when like the WEC and all that was going on, guys went out there to fucking kill each other. You know what I mean?
I think two things. I think that boxing approach has crept into the UFC and mixed martial arts. I do. And for those that don't understand what I'm saying, it's about building the record, right? And the reason that you built the record in boxing is so that you could build the narrative. This guy's 20-0 and he's got 18 knockouts. Meanwhile, the average fan doesn't realize that 15 of those guys have losing records. They're tomato cans. They're the traveling losers that just want to pay the rent for the month, right? MMA, at least for like a 15 to 20 year time frame, was about you beat the best locally. You were the biggest fish in the small pond, and then you moved to a bigger pond, and then you would beat you would fight for like RFA back before it became LFA, and then if you became like the RFA champion, you were going to get the call. Or if you just had a good fight on RFA, you were probably going to get the call. Or like you fought for, Pride, or you fought for Strikeforce, and then when they dissolved, they got signed into the UFC. Dissolved is probably not the right word to describe it. When they got acquired, they got signed to the UFC. So like, you're absolutely right when you say, in fact, Mike Rogers said the quiet part out loud last time he was on this podcast. He told me, he's like, you don't have to fight tough fighters anymore. In fact, fighting tough fighters is like to your detriment, because if you get that loss or two on your record, well, now the UFC is like, oh, well, why would I look at the guy who's 5-2, who, maybe the cumulative record of his opponents is 30-5, when I got the 6-0 guy who's got 6 knockouts, and yeah, he's fought all tomato cans, but we could put him on Contender Series, and if he has a great fight and gets a highlight reel knockout, we'll sign him. We'll give him a couple fights, you know what I mean, on the card. Now, take that thought of, we have more fighters in each weight class. The process in which to get to the UFC is a little different. I'm not going to say it's easier or whatever. I don't know, right? I was not in the UFC, so I don't know. But if you take that into consideration and then you couple it with the fact that you have, I think, 800 guys now on the roster, um, and girls, so keep that in mind, right? The expansion of the sport. These guys are still fighting for like 12 and 12. So then you get to the point where you were saying earlier about like back in the day, they used to fight with like fervency and everything. Now they're fighting to win. Well, yeah, dude. You know what I mean? 12 and 12 after taxes, after you pay your coaches and your dues and everything, you'll be lucky to, if you win a fight, you'll be lucky to go home with 10 grand. And 10 grand in like, here in St. Louis, you could probably live like 3 months off that if you're, frugal with your money, your expenses, and all this other stuff. Then you got to have another fight.
Right.
So it's just, and that's if you win. What if you lose? You're quite literally fucked. So it's you're putting these people in a kind of a tough spot, and it's hard for me to say this because I do love the sport, but it's so easy to kind of see its blemishes. And it's also difficult to say this because you also have to say the truth, which is the fighters are now making way more money than they ever were. Like if you look at when you were coming up or when I was coming up, what they were making compared to now, it is fundamentally different. The top 10% are making buco bucks. But I feel like, you don't go off of an average, you go off of a median. And the difference between that is, for those that don't understand math, forgive me, let me give you a quiz. An average is you take the total and you divide it by the total. So like if you have 100 fighters, take the total amount of money, that's the average, right? But then you have some guy that might be making $2 or $3 million a fight who skews that average. The median is where the most people make the most amount of money in terms of volume. So if you have one fighter that makes $1 million and you have one fighter that makes $20,000 and the majority of the fighters make $30,000, well, that's your median. So like, even though the average has increased, I feel like the median has been stayed static. 12 and 12 is insane for your first fight in the UFC because going back to what we said, they're fucking killers.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least we think they are.
And I'll say that I was going off of, like, trust me, 100, even if I can go back then, I would have fought the worst competition in the world just to, because it was Ultimate Fighter than UFC, right?
Back in the day.
I would have done it, 100%. It was just, as a fan, if I'm going to sit back and watch guys, if, say I'm paying pay-per-views, which I'm not anymore, I don't like, there's no way, I don't know if I could have been as invested like we were back in the day watching some of these guys. Even though they're more skilled, they have the abilities, but I get the business side because you're your own business at that point. Like you're a pro fighter, and if that's what you choose to do and you're good enough to do it, absolutely get what you don't have to fight. Fight the worst. Fight guys like me. I'm 37. I want to have one last run. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but I would make the argument that once you get to that level, there are no easy fights, right? Like once you get to the UFC,
no, when you're in the UFC, there's no easy fights.
Worst case scenario, using the metric that we just said, you're getting some guy right off the Contender Series, who either might belong or might not. That's the easiest fight in the UFC. After that, it only gets harder.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to, like, I want to be critical without sounding disrespectful.
Sure.
But it is the state of the sport, and we'll have this conversation when we talk about some of your current dealings. But I'll ask this part of this now is, we were talking earlier about how the sport was booming and growing. What is your synopsis now? Do you think the sport, like not everything that the UFC and the brand is doing, right? Because there's like Zuffa Boxing, there's Slap, there's all these, there's BJJ, like they're branching out into different markets, which is like a Venn diagram of MMA. But the sport of MMA, do you think it's growing? Do you think it's regressing? Do you think it's plateaued? What is your temperature of the...
I can go off of being at UFC headquarters during UFC events, during weeks. My last match, I was in Abu Dhabi, in which the UFC event there, you know what I mean? So I got a perspective of
international
homegrown
markets.
fan and international, and it is huge.
Yeah,
it is huge. Now, I'm at just the experience out like this when I was in Abu Dhabi, like outside the arena, they put up this thing had to have been 100 or maybe 50 yards long, a fan experience, right? So people could line up, they can get their hands wrapped, they could do different skills, kind of set games, they could play UFC like online or on
The
video
video
games,
games.
you know what I mean? And um, in Abu Dhabi, right? Like, that's not a is a weird place to be because you don't see a lot of people outside. It's
It's hot
real
during the
weird.
day.
Yeah, it's really hot, right? Even at night, you don't see like pedestrians. It's real weird, kind of eerie. But I remember walking down to where the arena was because it was off of like where our hotel was, and I couldn't sleep, jet lag, whatever. Um, and more people I seen there is, like it was like being at the mall earlier in the afternoon, like just
Just packed.
crazy.
Would you say though that that's a bit of a skewed synopsis because you're also there for an event, right? Like,
Yeah,
let me ask you this: like, how often do they go to Abu Dhabi? Let's say they go there 2 or 3 times a year,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like, it would be hard for me to tell someone that the sport is not growing if I'm going to a UFC event. Because if you go to a UFC event, you're going to be surrounded by people that are there for the event. When I say the sport growing, let me ask it in a more nuanced way. I remember 2011 to 2014. I felt like with Connor, with Ronda, um, John Jones was doing his thing. Like the sport was hitting like critical mass. Like
Oh,
it was no longer this like underground thing, and it was very much. I remember when the UFC on Fox deal got signed. I mean, my dad, who I had been fighting, my dad like never talked about fighting. Right?
yeah.
I was maybe like a 6-0 amateur. Conor McGregor is fighting Dustin Seaver on UFC on Fox, and my dad's like, "Man, this MMA thing is kind of cool." I was like, "Hey, motherfucker! Like, what about
I've been
me?"
doing that for
Yeah,
like a year.
exactly.
Yeah,
Like, thanks, Dad.
yeah,
But even my own father, who like, by the way, he has no idea who Conor McGregor was or Dustin Seaver was,
yeah.
but that was the first time he watched the UFC. I felt anecdotally that like the sport was growing, and the numbers showed. Salaries were rising. I remember when Conor McGregor fought Chad Mendes. That was the first time like a UFC fighter made $500,000 flat.
Yeah.
Like that was like holy shit! Like
Yes.
we're getting close to boxing numbers.
Or
That
what
was the
about the live performance as they walked out? Like, you
yes.
know what I mean? Like when Connor, because that was like, so when I was like training full time, that is what I was doing. I bounced on the weekends and I trained full time, lived in dorms at the hit squad, right? That was like the George St. Pierre kind of era,
Yeah,
right? And then when it got into that Conor McGregor, that yeah, you're right. Like
it
it was
exploded.
different. I mean, you had just these. It was kind of like the first time I think people actually seen the outcome of what people looked like training MMA from like early teens. You know what I mean? Like now it's popular. I mean, there's kids doing MMA all over the place. It was the first time that people could see somebody on the microphone. They could, not only strike like very good, like, close to better than,
Most.
guys. Yeah. And then also they had jujitsu, wrestling. Like you look at a guy like John Jones, he was a just,
I don't even think it was the fighting style because the juxtaposition. Remember when Connor was coming up, so was Ronda, and you could not talk about more polar opposites. Ronda, a woman, Connor, a man. Ronda, judoka, more jujitsu, more submission, more grappling. Connor, more of the striking, more of the boxing. I mean, you had two stars, but from completely opposite spectrums of like a fan base. Like, if you're a big fan of the way Connor would fight, okay, you would make the argument that there's no way you could be a fan of the way Ronda would fight. But I remember, dude, those Ronda and Connor for like 2, 3 years were like the untouchables.
yeah.
Like Ronda, I think did like 8 title defenses. Connor did his come up where he was like just knocking everybody out, calling his shots. This was back when he knocked Dustin out, when he knocked Dennis Seaver out. Um, really setting a name for himself, and then culminating with the crescendo of his career, in my opinion, was when he finished Aldo. That that moment,
I remember that like it was 9/11.
Yesterday. Yes, like yesterday.
Like where were you at when 9/11? Everybody can answer that, right?
Yes.
I ran from work to the Lumiere, what Lumiere at the time, to was Ozzy Sports Bar, right? To get there in time, like I'm talking running through this casino, just so I can get eyes on a screen, right? And that fight, that's where I was at, and I'm talking
electric.
If somebody told me they turned off every slot machine in that building, I would have believed. I wouldn't have known the difference.
Oh, no one was gambling when that fight was on.
It was just absolutely. That was that's got to be the most special moment in MMA history. Unless you just want to disagree with me and
no,
like I'm sorry, like anybody, like there's just no way you could put a cap on that moment.
Let me tell you this. To talk about earlier about like Buffalo Wild Wings and stuff, the Conor fight versus Aldo, we did a watch party at the gym.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember how many watch parties we did. You know what I mean? Let me put it to you that way. So like, and I guarantee you now, if there's, I hate to say it this way because I also don't want to sound like a rose-tinted goggles kind of guy, but when's the last time you heard a gym in the local area do a watch party for a UFC or even like a Dave & Buster's or a Buffalo Wild Wings? The problem is, like you said, the volume, right? I can tell you when that fight was coming on, you had a room full of people and everyone was sweating from anticipation and anxiety and excitement. And when that fight ended in 13 seconds, you had a room full of grown-ass men. 3 of us maybe shit our pants.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Absolutely
and since then, never, like, I said this to Matt, I'll say it to you. I didn't realize we were living in the golden age of MMA, but we were.
No, because there was the Mayweather McGregor fight.
It wasn't the same.
No, that was huge for me too.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I remember I took off work. I went with a friend that's at his friend's house. They had one of those like outdoor screens, like projector screens, you know what I mean? And there was 100 people in this
for that one. Well, do you think it's because the pay-per-view was $100 for that? I hate to say that, but like,
it was weird at that time. Like, I couldn't afford to ever get a pay-per-view anyway, so I was always going to somebody's house, right?
Here's 5, thanks. Or you bring a box of pizza.
Anything.
That was kind of what we did too. To be honest with you, like none of us really had the money for it either. But
soda, maybe I'd get some soda.
Yeah, you put 10 guys together. Suddenly, you got the $60 for a pay-per-view,
exactly,
and that was half the fun.
Yeah, and then you grappled in between every match. It's like, no, come here, let me show you what I would have done.
I was definitely that asshole.
Yo, I was.
None of my friends trained, so they would say like horrid shit, like, I don't know why you're so tired. I'm like, let me explain to you what it's like having a jiu-jitsu black belt on your back. It is not fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I love MMA. I love the UFC. I love the WEC. I love Strikeforce. I love ONE FC now. I love PFL. Like, I love combat sports. For me, it's skewed because I really don't give a shit about sports. I like baseball. I like hockey. I like football. I'll watch it if it's on, but it's not as visceral to me as fighting. And I like boxing, but boxing has never done for me what MMA does, and that is this constant feel of like, this fight can be over at any fucking time because there's so many ways to lose. With 4-ounce gloves, with shins and knees and elbows, and then you take into consideration the grappling aspect, this fight could go from both guys on their feet to one guy's unconscious in 10 seconds. You know what I mean? And that was always this like, dude, I would, like the Conor fights, like I'd be sweating with like, oh my God, what's going on? You know what I mean?
It's like, well, like boxing now, like, which boxing has taken off and I love
it. It's making a resurgence.
Like the big matches, right? Man, I get those butterflies in my stomach until like for the first round. And then after that, you just don't get them back. With MMA though, if it's 2 dangerous guys, like if it's a 5-rounder, you could sit there the whole time like, you know what I mean? Because it's just back and forth.
You want to know the difference? I've deduced it. It's the standing 8 count or the 8 count in general. Yeah. In MMA, if you fuck up once against a dangerous guy, fight's over.
Done.
Fight's over. Hopefully you have the ability to recover, but if you got a killer on top of you, good luck. You know what I mean? Where in boxing, excluding the obviously the like the Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Actually, you can make the argument that Francis Ngannou got dropped twice before he got knocked out. So, but like there is the ability for boxers to kind of stop the action with the 8 count, with a standing 8 count, with like this lull in the action. If I get hurt, I can hold on you, and then you have to wait till the referee separates you. Where in MMA, that shit just doesn't exist. You get hurt, this guy's all over you, and you're just trying to grapple to save your life, or maybe maybe he took you down. It's a Charles Oliveira motherfucker, and you're just trying to get back to your feet because you're in danger, And then the educated fan is losing their shit because they realize, holy shit, this fight is almost over. Meanwhile, the casual guy is like, what do you mean? They're just on the ground, or they're on their feet, but no one got clipped yet. You're like, yeah, but he's setting him up with a head kick. You could see it. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but it just. I want it to be known that I love fighting. But with that, I've just talked to so many fighters, past, present, and some of these young guys like Talon, who will be the future. And it's just, there's this part of me that wants to make sure that if they're going to dedicate their lives to this craft, and they do get to that level, they made it, tippity top, right? To at least be able to walk away with some cash when it's all over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially in today's landscape. I mean, there's just so many good guys.
Yes.
To become the 1% is almost like hitting the lottery. You know what I mean? So you can make a lot of money. Like my good friend Charles Johnson, right? He's making a lot of money right now. But when he first got there, it was unsure. You know what I mean? Like even in his division, like.
He's a 125 pounder for those that might not know who Charles Johnson is.
Just it's rare to get to that point. You know what I mean?
He's also a rare guy because of his volume.
Yeah.
Charles fights a lot. Yeah. He's been in the UFC for maybe 5 years now, and I think he's probably coming up on 20 fights in the UFC, if not more.
I think I sponsored him his last 2 pro fights.
Before he got signed?
Yeah, before he got signed. And that's when I first 2021. He's been in since then. I think.
I remember he had 7 fights or 6 fights in 1 year.
Yeah.
So to the point of Charles makes a lot of money, the caveat is also motherfucker works for it.
Yeah.
He's fighting every 2 months.
He deserves every bit of it. You know what I mean?
God bless. I'm not trying to dilute it. I'm trying to amplify it. He makes a lot of money, but the dude fucking stays in that game. Yeah. There is no off season for Charles. God bless him.
Especially it's funny going back to that, to 125 pound division. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So in 2000 and this might have to be fact checked, but 2013, no? Yeah, maybe 2013.
When they added the flyweight division to the UFC.
So I was a part of the first Tiger Muay Thai team tryouts, right? The very first one ever. And Kaikara France was a 18-year-old kid from New Zealand there with me. Have you heard of the team tryouts there? Yeah, I was going to say Alexander Volkanovski.
They all came from Izzy came from there as well.
Israel. So he was there the first year, and he was this little 18-year-old kid, and now he's making a shit ton of money doing that in the 120.
He's also a fucking killer.
Oh, he was a killer then. He won. He got one of the scholarships because I remember sitting down, we were all eating, and I was just like, man, you look like a wuss. And he didn't know how to take it, you know what I mean? But I was like, no, man, you're fucking good.
I was going to compliment you.
Like, dude, you were so good. He was 18, and I think at the time he had 10 pro fights or something.
As an 18-year-old?
I'm being dead serious. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, crazy.
Do you ever I want to be careful how I say this because you're still in the sport to an extent through Slap, but your time in MMA, do you ever look back on that as a previous life? Do you ever let me extrapolate because I look back at my time. I'm only removed 3 years from it, but I forgot half the shit I did, And like I'll be on Facebook and like I'll go this time hop like 10 years ago you did this. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's right, I did do that. And it almost feels like I don't want to say it was like a different person, but like I look back and I go, holy shit, yeah, like I did spend a lot of time and I did do this, and I did do that, but it almost feels like it wasn't me at this point. Like I'm as if I'm a different person. I don't
No,
know if you
no,
have some of
no.
that.
I get it because it's funny. I was doing a podcast on Saturday, and he asked me a question about a fight I had. That I guess it was posted, and I kept looking at him like, "Who are you talking about?" I was like, "I've never fought that person." And he finally had to be like, he got up, got his phone out. He's like, and I was like, "Oh shit, that is
That
me!
is
Look
me."
at that young boy, right?" So
He fact checked you about yourself.
yeah, I was like, I was so confused on who he's talking
And
about.
at that moment, you're like, CTE is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is working. You know what I mean? But no, you're absolutely right. Like, I watch UFC fights, MMA fights, and I sit back and go, how are these guys getting in there? And then it's like, holy shit, I did that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot.
Yeah.
Like, between
And
amateur and pro, almost 50 fights.
not just that. How about all the rounds in the gym that no one ever saw?
Yeah.
The real miles.
Hundreds.
If you want me to be honest, the real miles.
Hundreds. So it was, yeah, it is crazy looking back because I'm just not that person anymore. You know what
You
I
don't
mean?
think?
I'm there's like
Well, you when you say you're not that person, do you mean like physically or mentally?
both,
You think?
both. Physically, like it took me at 20, 21, 22. I was a monster. I would
Yeah.
like all the fights that I've lost as a professional outside of those ages because my mind was still in that person. Like, you know what I mean? Within that
The
21,
abilities that you had as a 21-year-old.
Just the work ethic, the strength, the speed, just the rounds in the gym, right? Well, after it was right around that time, that's when Jesse took over the hit squad. Everybody moved, and I was kind of like the only thing I ever known was that, right? So then I tried to find a place in other gyms that just didn't work out for me, right? And nor I probably
Can I add some context to this?
yeah.
So previously, when you first got into the Hit Squad, it was run by a different owner, and you had a lot of the guys that were from the UFC. And the Hit Squad was one of the premier gyms in North America, and that you had fighter dorms, and you had UFC fighters and Strikeforce fighters, and I mean, you had like a powerhouse team there. Over the course of time, management, what have you, Jesse Finney came on board and actually bought out the gym, the location, and everything. And then there was like this shift. Because obviously, when you have new ownership of any kind, coaches leave, people leave, there's a transition period. And then you, who's like still there, you're kind of like, okay, it still has the same name, it's still the same facilities, the same equipment and everything, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it was weird because I remember I went to Colorado and I fought for Ring of Fire, which at that time was basically the LFA of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, today's world, to put in perspective, anybody not. So, First Bank Arena in, Broomfield, huge, huge show. And I remember doing an interview, and my coach came up to me. He was like, "Hey, you have to say you're from Finney's Hit Squad." Like, and I was like, "What is that?" I was so confused because it was at that transitional, like, where
Middle
I had
acquisition.
no idea. I
Yeah.
was like, "Why would I say that?" Like, yeah, you got to say that. You know what I mean? Like, wherever, if they ask you where you're fighting out of. And then I can remember walking out, and on the screen, there was the Finney's Hit Squad logo, like, underneath, like,
By
my,
you?
like, and I was like,
Who the fuck is
I
that?
was like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And then after that fight, it was just weird. And I was down to stick it out. I actually liked the fact that, because we had a ton of international guys, right? A ton of, local guys, but there almost be seasons where the winter, a lot of your training partners kind of drop down because maybe they have other things. They got to go back home. They got to do whatever. When Jesse came in, he had local guys. Yeah, these are all St. Louis guys, and then in my head, I was like, oh, I've got more training partners. Like, this is
Year
great.
round, yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. There's never that time where it's like you get a little nervous when you're fighting in December because
Half
homeboy's
the
back in
room's gonna be
Texas,
gone.
this guy's back in Canada, that one's in Germany. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is awesome. Get more, but the more of the guys you're used to, it's like when you're in the gym, you're used to a set of guys. If all those guys left and it was just you, what are you gonna do?
Not just that, but
It's
I would make
comfortability.
the argument that like near the end of my career, I realized how important it is to have people that you trust to spar, because I I've heard a lot of people, and there's no one size fits all. I might say something that you disagree with here. I got some of the hardest sparring I ever got in my career near the end of my career. And I was actually never more dangerous than I was near the end of my career. But I was also sparring really hard with guys that I trusted and loved. Like it was really like a band of brothers, and I had never had that before at another gym. So like even though we were sparring with 6 ounce puffy gloves and no shin guards or anything, but I never went into any round like 5 minute rounds, basically MMA to try to get ourselves ready. And I never had this feeling of like anybody in there was trying to hurt me, anyone in there was recording, trying to get a clip or anything like that. It was a really beautiful time, and I thought to myself like the only reason I kind of carried fighting a little longer was because of the people to my left and to my right. To be completely honest with you, I got really lucky there at the end. But to your point about like, I don't know if I ever would have had anything like that if I had seasonal guys in the gym. Because then I'm going in there to like, I hate to say it this way, but like I'm going in there to protect myself, not to train, because we're sparring hard. And
Yeah, I
these
mean
guys might try to
that's how
fuck
it
me
was
up.
back then. I mean, you had, I mean, we had classes to teach, like techniques and all that. But when you got to, I remember, I believe it was Monday, Wednesday sparring. You had Monday Matt Hughes morning class. And then you had like Tuesday, Thursday grappling. Then like Saturday mornings were combat gear, so the puffy gloves, like you know what I mean. Um, there was no technique drills in though. Like if they allowed you to gear up and pick an opponent,
They assumed you were a fighter.
you learned on the fly. You know what I mean? And they would never. This Our gym was good about they weren't gonna let this guy just jump on the mats. They were gonna drill him. See a little bit, or put him against like an amateur or something.
Especially
But
if they haven't seen them
yeah,
before.
yeah, never. Not just throw him straight into you know
Some killers and
yeah,
get
even
hurt.
like Dustin Jacoby was an amateur with me. Like you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have thrown him against even him. But um, yeah, it was just different because that's all I knew, and then also your mindset going into a fight. Like I went 22-2 as an amateur, and every time my coach would say, "All right, this is your test. You win this, you go pro." Right? I mean, he said that. So there was one month I fought 5 times. I fought every single weekend, and on one weekend I fought, I think, in Indiana on a Friday and like Missouri on a Saturday. You know what I mean? Because I was just winning in the first round every single time. Now these guys aren't the same like as they are now. I see some of these amateurs on some clips, and I'm like, holy shit, why is he not making
It
money?
was a different time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But my coach was just trying to see if I was actually prepared to be a
A
pro,
professional
right?
fighter, yeah.
Because I wasn't the best guy in the gym ever. But when it came to showtime, it was there. You know what I mean? So yeah, he was just trying to make sure or whatever. But where was I even going with this?
We were talking about how the hit squad had changed kind of
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
the middle of your career because of the acquisition.
yeah.
It was
So
your home gym.
yeah, I was getting to the mindset of that. Like when I went in there, and no matter how many belts these guys would come walking out with, or how big of a killer they said they were, I'm like, dude, I just sparred Robbie 2 weeks ago and survived. Like I'm here today to fight. Like, and then when all like those kind of like, I went to Detroit with Matt Hughes when he fought BJ Penn the second time, which it didn't end good, it ended quick, but and
Well, I mean, BJ Penn was also a killer at the time,
yeah,
so
I was going to
Not a
these,
bad guy to lose to.
yeah, I was going to these UFC events as a young kid, like, and being behind the scenes and training with these huge guys too. Um, and then when you go from having all that to now I have this fight scheduled, and I've been training with some dude I've never heard of before in my life, like from a super small gym that I'm even at a small gym at this time. Like I remember my teammate Kyle Watson. Uh,
Shout
when
out Kyle.
Yeah, so he was the jujitsu coach. He was a teammate at his squad, right? And he started his gym after all this was going down, and I went with him, and I was his first pro fighter win. Whole team history. I booked it. You're welcome. But I had two people to train with the whole camp. That was scary, when it was time to make the walk.
I
But
didn't think about that. I hate to call it this, but you kind of had like a regression. Like when you started training martial arts, I mean, you were in a gym with like the guys that were seeing the top echelon of the sport. So you were around that environment, and through osmosis, you were kind of getting some of that. Like obviously when, a Robbie Lawler or a Matt Hughes has a fight, I'm sure the air in the fucking gym is different, right?
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
the whole gym is now like, hey,
Oh,
Matt's got a fight.
there's a
Matt's
or
defending
like
his belt. Yeah, yeah.
you
It's
could
it's
almost feel like a guy like Robbie's like when he was a super he doesn't talk much. He's super chill. Doesn't you know
I hear he's a great guy.
yeah, super good guy. But when he would get his gear on and step on the mat, and you just like you could feel him, no matter how far away down, like everybody in the room could be like, you know what I mean? And there was just few guys like that. And then yeah, you're right. Like most people, they come up in super small gyms, they get good enough where they realize, hey, maybe I can be good at this.
They move up.
I went from I had
Shit.
amateur fight, and I was like, all right. And that's kind of like a personality like that I have. That's why I've been successful, I think, in business as well. Like when I lock in on something, all right. Like if you give me the skill, if I have the skill to do something at the highest level I possibly can, I want to go straight into it. You know what I mean? And I thought winning one amateur MMA fight that I was like, all right, I can go to this big gym. You know what I
God
mean?
bless.
And then the big gym went down, and then I was in small gyms.
Before I move on to slap, I do have one more question. When you look back at your martial arts career, the time that you spent, how do you look back on it? Do you look back on it with fond memories? Do you look back on it with regrets? Do you look back on it like what are some of the emotions and thoughts that you carry whenever you revisit those times?
I will say that I have met the best people in the world through MMA, through fighting. Um, I just how life progressed, all due to fighting. Right? I wouldn't have been in St. Louis if I didn't come up here to fight and train. I wouldn't have met my wife if I didn't have to get that weekend gig bouncing. You know what I mean? Because I was a fighter, right? So I look at it like that, and I wouldn't have been able to travel the world. You know what I mean? Because of fighting. There's very few countries that somebody could put me in a plane, drop me off, and I wouldn't know somebody I can get on social media, and I can,
Hey, I'm
get
gonna
there.
be in town.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
So, but I also look back at after the hit squad changed ownerships and everybody kind of just split ways, I didn't want to fight anymore. But as a fighter, when you do it enough, you feel it. I mean, you look in history, all the great fighters, they always fight past where they should have been, right? I just done it for so long. I felt like every time I'd go to, my hometown and see, hey, when you fighting again? Or every time I go to, hey, when you fighting again? When you fighting again? You almost feel like you have to fight, right? But I was also trying to put it in a way that people that don't have that's never fought would understand this. Um, if somebody was a drug addict 10 years ago and now they're sober, how would they look back on those years? Because I was addicted to the feelings I got leading up to a fight, going into the fight. So that last half of my career wasn't I didn't deserve to win any of those fights. Every fight I lost, I deserved it. You know, you get the work you put into it, right? But I was getting my fix.
Mm,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
You get it. You understand those
I've been
feelings, you know?
chasing it, dude.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head.
Does that make sense? Right?
Yes, it does. It does feel like a drug. And I think that's why so many people, when they retire from fighting, I don't, like, if you told me, like, Ariane, do you miss the training? No, I don't miss the fucking training. You want to know what I miss? I miss fight night, and I miss all those emotions I used to fucking hate. The feeling of, like, you have to shit your pants for 4 fucking hours before your fight.
Every emotion.
Yes.
Scare,
Fear, adrenaline.
all the time.
I'm the fucking man. Oh my God, I hope I don't get knocked out. I'm going to destroy this guy. I hope I don't get destroyed. You know what I mean? All those emotions. I do miss all the things that I used to, like, kind of. I remember I used to train the last couple of fights of my career. I was training so hard to make all of those fearful emotions escape me, because I used to think that, like, maybe I'm not the man that I think I am, because I say I'm a badass. I say I'm capable of all these other things. Yet before the fight, I'm shitting my pants just like everybody else. So how truly badass am I? Only now do I realize that the reason I had all those emotions is because I was gonna get in a fucking cage half naked, and some guy was gonna try to separate me from my consciousness. I'd be a sociopath not to be scared.
Yeah.
But also those emotions, you'll agree with me, I never felt more alive. There have been things in my life that I've done that have been more fulfilling. Being a father, being a husband, an entrepreneur, like, the things in my life that I do now are more fulfilling. But I would be lying to you if I said they made me those same emotions of, like, grandeur and immediate violence slash danger.
Yeah.
It was like an adrenaline hit. It felt like a drug.
It's like what you just said is like the same thing that an ex-drug addict would say. Hey, I found God. I have a family. I love all these things. But man, I'd be lying to you if I said I had the worst nights of my life doing cocaine. You know what I mean? Like that's how I could explain it to somebody that's never been one in a fight nor fought competitively. And I just answered your future question on how I got into Power Slap.
Was it trying to chase that?
That was it. So I had just had my second kid. I opening a business. I just buy a house. Just life going on, right? It's hard to just look in the mirror at yourself. And one day I did. And I was like, where's my scale at? Right? Like, my pants aren't fitting. Like, I never in my life had the bands of my underwear flip down over my love handles before, ever. And I was like, what is this? I was like, I thought these were new. What's going on here? And I stepped on the scale. I was 266 pounds. I was like, oh.
Was it the heaviest you've ever been?
Heaviest I've ever been. And I always want, like, fighting just never leaves the back of your head, right? But there's only one way I've ever known to lose weight, and that was to
training for a fight.
It's like I could have done all the same stuff without doing anything and lost the weight, but putting your name on a piece of paper, being obligated to it, is what does it, right? And then
do you feel like you do your best work when you have put yourself in a position where now you're obligated to perform?
Absolutely.
You put the pressure on yourself.
Absolutely.
You don't have the ability to say no now. You've already committed.
Yeah, that's I mean, you could put that in anybody's perspective. It's like if you're a gangster, right, and you're around all your gangster friends, you said you're gonna go rob that car. and it's time to go rob it, what are you going to do? It's just you guys. You're going to rob it, right? Saying it's just you, and then there's a cop sitting right in front of you.
No, I think you're wrong. Do you know how many people sign up for fights and don't show up?
Oh,
Do
I
you know
do.
how many
Yes,
people
yes,
talk
yes,
the
yes.
talk and never walk the walk? I think you're different than people, Colton. I
Those are
think
different.
you
I
take
feel
your
like those people are
obligations
different.
seriously.
Yeah.
When you sign on that dotted line, you're in. Hell or high water.
Well, that's like,
And that's few people. That's few people.
yeah, I lock in on just if my wife knows now, she'll start sweating if I say something, because she knows if I say something that I've thought it over, I've gone over the risks, I've gone over the reward, and I've gone over the damages,
It's worth it.
and if I say it, it's over. Like she like when I was like have a restaurant or you know we just got a house for start Airbnbs, like all this. And I don't know what it is in my mind though, but if I do say it out, like I'm in 100%. There's no going like, you can't change my mind about it. I don't know. It's probably something wrong with me on that point, but like I've been successful in all of it. I think it's maybe self belief. Like I don't go in and say I'm going to do something I don't have the skills to do, but you know,
It's a dichotomy I have with martial artists because you simultaneously show all the things that an employer would want and all the characteristics that would make for a great entrepreneur: discipline, self-reliance, risk. You're not risk averse, right? Like you're obviously a risky individual. You're comfortable with risk because you're taking on extreme physical, dire consequences if you make mistakes. The problem is, and I've always said this, is martial arts is one of those things where you dedicate a lot of time into a skill set that does not transcend. So like if you're a great martial artist and you can't harness all the things that you learn from martial arts, it's gonna be a rough life. Like you see, how many guys do you see that like? Actually, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. I'm going to take a step back. I don't want to make that comment. But there are a lot of guys who have like they've greatly understood the intangible skill sets that they were acquiring during martial arts. Like when you were making the comment about how you've met such great people and how it's kind of helped shape and mold you. And, you know, you look back at fighting as if like, well, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have been in this position. I wouldn't have been in that position. And these positions help set up everything else in my life. That's not common, is what I will say. I think that there are great fighters, and then there are great martial artists, and then there are guys that would have been great at doing whatever the hell they decided to do, and they just chose to do martial arts, if that makes sense. And based on some of the skill sets that you've been able to amplify for your life outside of your life's work, which was martial arts for the longest time, it doesn't shock me that you don't strike me as the guy who, you know, you were great at martial arts, but you would have been great at, I don't know, dude, fucking computer science if you would have dedicated your mind to computer science. Does that make sense?
yeah.
The same discipline, the same work ethic, the same, you know, ability to take ownership and all these factors would have made you great at whatever it is that you decided to do. It just so happened that you chose fighting.
Well, it was weird because I was in culinary school, and then went to fighting. You know what I mean? And then
I'm gonna cook these boys up.
and then I was like, and then I went from fighting. Well, I've always been in the food and beverage industry, like throughout the whole time. But like when I was done fighting, and you know, I was done years before I was done. You know what I mean? But uh, you know, I always knew that the hospitality industry was never going to leave me, just because I had tried to leave it ever since I was like 12. And I just, every single time I'd go do something else and I'd boop, right back in, right back in. And then when I was even like working in, you know, restaurants and, you know, going to, you know, really big restaurants, I also realized that I was as good or better than what people were paying for. So
Well, let's talk about that actually, if you don't mind, because I wanted to talk about entrepreneurship before we got to talking about slap. I know that slap is like a big part of what you're doing right now, but if you don't mind, before we get into for like a martial art to a martial art, I actually do want to talk about the restaurant because if I'm not mistaken, when you took a step away from martial arts, it was the restaurant that you start actually restaurant and bar, forgive me, that you started. Can I'm not gonna do it justice trying to explain it. I'm just curious as to when was this idea of starting your own restaurant and bar? Was it in conjunction with martial arts? Was it something that you were thinking about after you were done with martial arts? How did you become an entrepreneur?
So I was still doing MMA. Like when all this was in my head that, this is what I need to do. Um, like I was like, this was in my head, like when I fought Sean, you know what I mean? That long ago. So it was like,
Literally almost a decade. Holy shit.
yeah. So, um, my only thing was when so at the time I was primarily bartending, right? Um, I love the art of creating cocktails and making cocktails and doing it one healthier ways than like all these fake dyes and sugars that you get at nightclubs and all that, and just making it more craft and whatever. So I got really big into that and got good enough where people were paying me to go to their mansions in Ladue to, just private bartender, like a lot of money. Like, so I was like, all right, I just wanted like a bar, like a nice cocktail lounge with small plates, like whatever. That was kind of my fallout plan to this, right? And then also, my wife was a physical therapist, and I had remembered that. Remember some regulars were in there, some women that always came in, right? And they were drinking, have a good time. They were asking me about my wife, and told them what she was, like all that. And one of them said, "Oh, you have a sugar mama," and it flipped like like internally as a man, you
Mm.
don't want to. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who've been proud of that. Like, heck yeah, like I don't have to work and like
Different
what I mean.
strokes for different
I
folks.
get yeah. So it was a comment that like most people would have never remember, like kind of shook off, but it stuck with me. It stuck with me, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna go to college for 10 years to try to top this one, right? I was like, but I am good at this, and I do love it. Like, I that's where it all kind of snowballed into this is what I want to do.
Forgive me for asking this, but I'm just curious. Prior to that comment, did the disparity of earnings ever affect you between you and your wife?
No, not at all, because it was just. I mean, we dated for so long. It was just what we knew. You know what I mean? This is what I did, and there was times where I
She
worked.
knew what she was getting into. You knew what you were
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
into.
yeah. It was one of
There's
those
no
things where,
lies.
yeah, I was never saying like, oh, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna do this, and I promise. Like, no, it was up front. This is what I'm gonna do forever. You know what I mean? And there was times where I worked 3 jobs um, to pay apartment bills and like all that. Like she obviously knew that I was had an ethic of me that I wasn't gonna just sit around and you know what I mean,
Yeah.
do that. But
Lazy is unacceptable. Agreed.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, and it should be. If you respect yourself, you should.
Actually,
You know what I
not
mean?
to get super religious, it's even biblical.
It
Sloth is
absolutely
a
is.
seven
Yes,
deadly sin.
yes. Um, so I knew that's what I was gonna do. I would,
So this lady's comment about the sugar mama, was it like lighting the fuse for the explosion that was executing on your own spot? I'm curious because you brought this up. This was obviously like a important moment, something you still
yeah, I
remember.
still do to this
So
day.
was that the catalyst for like, okay, no, fuck this. Like I'm gonna do something different.
Yeah, it was kind of like it wasn't an insulting comment
No,
by any means, but I was
for you, it was like fuel.
I will say it was demasculating.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah. Guys, all nobody like talks about that kind of thing or anything.
Well,
But there's a lot of things that like, and that just stuck with me. Where I was
can I
like,
clarify one thing real
yeah,
quick?
yeah, yeah.
Because I don't want to make it sound like so like your wife and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would agree with me, but please correct me if I'm wrong. it is not as if it's a competition. Like, I don't look at what my wife makes as a detriment to me. I do look at it as a team. Hey, we're bringing resources together.
Absolutely.
However,
Yeah.
call this toxic masculinity if you want to. It's not as if I want to out earn my wife, not because I want her to be beneath me, but because I believe that the best family structure is when the man leads. Does that make sense? Now, I don't want my wife to like lose her job so that I make more than her.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
I want to do is I want to step my game up. So like if you're, let's say you have 50K, I want to make 55. I don't want you to go down to 45. I want to just step my game up.
Absolutely.
It's not like I'm trying to get one over on her. What it is more than anything is, this is how I feel. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that the house best kept is where the man leads, because the man is the one that will take on a lot of the physical responsibilities of protecting and nurturing, not nurturing, sorry, protecting and providing. I'll be very careful how I say this because it's a different age. My wife is really good at nurturing the home. She turns my house into a home. Does that make sense? Like before my wife, the house just felt like some place I sleep. Now it feels like my castle. You know what I mean? And that's 100% because of my wife and my daughter. But I also have this responsibility on me that makes me a better man because I have more than just my own mouth to feed. I have more than just myself to protect or to provide for. And when my wife was making more than me, I never looked at that as like, you know, how could I get one up on her? I thought to myself exclusively, man, I need to step my game up. I need to do more. I need to find another path. I need to adjust my course. I need to be better. I need to be a better. It's not even about the money as much as it is the drive for more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let's say your wife makes $1 million a year. Good fucking luck beating that. But what you should still get from that is, I see what you're doing. I see how you're doing it. I need more for myself. If I make 50, I should make 60. If I make 100, I should make 110. Whatever that is, I should provide more or provide it in different ways. Because I do have a buddy who has a wife who's like, we're talking about 600, 700 range. Like she's a fucking winner. You know what I mean? You know what he does? Keeps everything organized, takes care of all the other stuff, like does the taxes and all these other things, like makes her life easier so that she can just focus on the kids and work. So that she doesn't have to focus on cooking. He cooks. She doesn't have to focus on all these other things. He handles all that stuff. It's a combination of a partnership. However, I do believe that if you want to become a better man, pick a strong woman. She'll force you to be better. She'll force you
Yeah,
to be
that's
better.
the thing too. Is like she's got a great work ethic.
I'm
Like
sure.
still, I mean, she'll
She went to school for 10 years, brother.
yeah, she'll work all day long. You know what I mean? It was more or less for me that you almost feel like okay, like it just that moment kind of dawned on me. I was like, you know what? I think that I just wanted to. I felt that she deserved to not have to work so hard. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
It's I want okay, let me make up the difference, and then you can.
Take off one day.
Yeah, it's like my whole thing was I told her I was like by time she's 30, I was like I want to retire you, right? And I did momentarily, so I did hit the goal, but she just got bored at home,
Yeah.
so she started doing like
How many kids do you
online.
have?
I have two,
How old are they now?
3 and 6.
Now.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
So, yeah. So it
She
got to the
got bored
point
at
where,
home.
huh?
She got bored at home.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like, it is daunting. Even if you're home for a few days, you're just like, holy cow. Just her purpose is to go out. To feel, not to feel, but actually contribute. You know what I mean? And I respect it. And I'll never, you know what I mean?
But
But
picking and choosing when you want to do things is a luxury, man.
yeah,
Like imagine you you are able to provide an avenue where she can still work when she wants to, how she wants to, if she wants to.
yeah,
That's ask 100 people if they would rather that. 100 people will tell you yes.
yeah. I mean,
So God bless.
she could literally just stop everything right now. We could adjust our financial situation, and we're good. We're
Just
still
give me a heads up so I can budget.
yeah. It's like, well, she does all that. Like I'm the worst.
With money.
I care so little about money. It's unbelievable. Like you would not
God
believe
bless
it.
you.
Like
I envy you.
I could take 3 of my shirts, 1 pair of underwear, 1 pair of socks, a pair of shorts, and a pair of pants, get a bag, and probably sleep in that closet that's right behind us over here forever and live fine. That little refrigerator, nobody
That's
can see
all we
it.
need.
It's a tiny refrigerator. All I need, and I wouldn't care at all. And it's not. I'm not saying that my wife, my kids are superficial by any means, but
You're a man of minimums.
I care for nothing. And I also see, and this is my fault by far. Like, I don't, I guess when you make enough and you're still, I haven't been behind on a bill ever. And, you go on vacation, you do whatever. You start to get skewed by the value of the dollar. Like, $100 to me isn't $100 to him, isn't $500 to me isn't 500. Like, you know what I mean? That is my fault, but my wife is excellent on keeping the value and telling me when to, hey,
relax,
yeah,
buddy.
she'll put a stomping on me.
But that's also I think that is, if you ask most people, like, I don't want to generalize, but like if you ask most people like where they want to be with their finances, everyone's going to tell you millionaire, billionaire, right?
Sure.
But then if you tell them like, okay, well, if you want that kind of money, like what you're going to have to do in order to set yourself up for that.
So hard. The more money you make, and you hear this on movies, or you hear this through
Rap songs,
like, people like whatever. It's so much more stressful the more money you make, and I say that honestly because I've came from making $0 to making pretty good living. You know what I mean?
When you say stressful, can you elaborate slightly? What do you mean? Like, does the value, like, I think I understand what you're saying.
Your obligations are so much greater. Like right now, as a business owner, right? I don't have the most important people in my life, my family, to worry about. I now have 25 families to worry about. So if I make a bad choice, if I make a bad decision, it's not only going to affect my circle, it's going to affect theirs and theirs and theirs and theirs and theirs. And one thing I wouldn't be able to live with is if I put someone out because of a decision I made. Somebody that was an innocent bystander of my crazy idea. Does that make sense?
100%, but you want to know where you're wrong? That's not money. That's the responsibility of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That is something that you feel regardless of the money you make. You feel the personal attachment to the families that are associated directly because of the thing you've created. There's people that I know that are employees that make $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
They don't feel what you feel. It's not about the money. It's about the responsibility by which you bring in that money. If in order for you to bring in however much you make in a year, in order for you to bring that in, you had to build this thing that also employs other people.
Yeah.
So now you have the waiters, the other cooks, the bartenders, the bus boys, the valet, whoever it is that works for you, however it is that they work for you, the marketing people, whatever. They're all now a part of this thing that you've created, and it has its own life now. You can't just I feel sick today. I don't feel like doing it.
Yeah. There's like that's where I was getting at, where like, well, one, taking all that responsibilities obviously means more income, right? When I was just bartending, working for somebody, wife was just working for somebody, and going home and sleeping at night was way easier. You know what I mean? Way easier.
The thread count was less on the sheets, but it was a good sleep.
Yeah, it was great. It was like now when my phone rings, I get a pit in my stomach.
Oh, what problem is there that I need to solve?
You know what I mean? It's always like what happened? Because normally, like the phone ringing, it's a telemarketer or it's a problem. You know what I mean? It's just never, before phone ring, it'd be your buddy, your
Hey,
wife.
bro,
Hey,
you want
how
to
are
go
you doing?
out?
Are you about to, it's something like that. Now when my phone rings, it's a gut punch feeling. I'm talking every single time. My employees can attest to me being in the kitchen, hearing my phone ring 2 times, and me just flipping out, throwing it, and just, you know what I mean? Freaking out because I didn't have time to deal with the problem. It's not always a problem, but
Feels like one.
yeah, and that's the tough part.
Do you? Let me ask you this. It's a high level question, but I like asking people. What is entrepreneurship to you? Like, what is that word? Like, when you hear that word, what the fuck do you think?
Um, you you acquired skills and you decided to believe in the path you wanted to take and you took it. You know what I mean? So whatever skills you had, I mean, you could be the best macaroni necklace maker in the world. And gosh damn it, if somebody caught on to your idea and you sold a few, you set up business, you believed in yourself and your skill, and now you are an entrepreneur in that field.
Do you think that if you had not have fought, you would still become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, 100%.
Eventually, you
100%.
would have come to this conclusion.
Because I've always had like, I wouldn't say a like a leadership complex, but I would say like a more of I had always felt like a creative advantage of wherever situation I was working in to be around somebody's product and like constantly think of different ways to elevate it and then being able to and like truly believing in it. So I always knew that I probably would.
Eventually, come to this conclusion.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I would. I always knew that I was going to be successful. Like nobody knows they're successful until they are.
That's also temporary. You're successful right now, but you make
Oh
three,
yeah,
four,
no,
five
it's
bad
never.
decisions in a row.
Yeah, yeah. It's
We're having a separate
especially
conversation.
in the restaurant business. It's completely fickle. I could have a customer come in 100 times in a row and have 99 of the best experiences of their life. But on the 100th time, if they have one slip up, because we're all human, right?
Yeah.
We don't, we all, there's always a factor where a mistake could slip by. We just try to minimize the damage when it does, right? But if something happens, say that server doesn't come back and explain to me that the customer is upset about X, Y, and Z, they want to leave me alone. Maybe I'm in a cranky mood, maybe something like that. That customer could have left not a single review for the first 99 times. And then not only the one bad experience they had, they leave a bad review. And then when people have bad reviews, they tend to spread that over to at least 10 people, right? And then those 10 people are so, say you're in a group full of 10 people and 8 people's never been in my restaurant. You got one person that had a bad experience there. Even though they had 99 great experiences, all they're going to tell you about is how bad it was and all this. And then they'll never come and try me.
I don't know if I agree with you. If I went to your restaurant 100 times,
Mhm.
and on the 100th time it was a
Maybe I
bad
used
experience.
a big number.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Sorry. Because I'm a foodie, brother.
Yeah.
That is my like. There are 3 main dopamine receptors in the brain. Actions that you can do: sex, drugs, and food. I have a wife. Sex is great. I don't do drugs. Food is now my passion, especially after all my life having to cut weight. So I'm a foodie. I love Hamilton's, 801, Capitol Grill. We just went to Sato. That's where I fucking spend my money. If you look at my pie chart and expenses, I do fucking damage. But I also worked in the restaurant industry and I know how fickle it is. And I know like sometimes shit is just, it's a Tuesday fucking night and the waiter is cranky and maybe the chef is hungover. Like, you don't fucking know. But I will say this. it's the consistency. I'll take the 1 bad out of 10, sure, easy. Now, if it's like 3 or 4 out of 10, different story. If it's 5 out of 10, I'm not going back for the 6th time. Does that make sense? So the only reason I say that is I think that the vast majority of people are also like cunts, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. And I think that there are 2 things that should be like mandatory to create a better society. Number 1, either military service or work in the service industry. Like either serve a country that's like bigger than yourself, right? It's more broad than you and your personal desires, or serve people where what you'd want doesn't really matter. It's what they want right now. It'll separate you from your own ego.
Sure.
And lastly, I think some sort of higher education. It doesn't have to be college, but learning how to cook, learning how to change tires, learn some skill set. I think both of those should be mandatory. But that's just me.
No, I agree on that.
To your point, though, about like running the business and how much pressure you have in the restaurant industry.
But like when you went back to say like if you had 3 out of 5 bad experiences, you would probably come in for that 6th one, or
no.
Okay, so 2 out of 5.
A 50% failure
maybe.
rate. That's an F.
Yeah, it's horrible, right?
And here's the thing: it's a competitive fucking field.
So
where I'm at, there's 7 different restaurants I can go to that all offer the same fillet, the same strip, the same everything.
Yeah.
All the cocktails are great. All the thing, everything's great. They're great restaurants. So like if I've had times where, you know, the difference in where I was going wasn't even the food or drink. It was the server. Yeah, it wasn't even, sometimes it wasn't even the server. Maybe it was like the special of the day. Ooh, on Saturdays they have this. We're going there. Like it depends. It's the variables. But I'm also like I'm a foodie. So
sure.
I'm kind of, I don't want to say like different, but.
I would say like, so I always tell my servers that it doesn't matter what happens during service. Like, as if you come in for the first time, I make you feel like family. I make you feel like you've been here 100 times, right? I can mitigate whatever happens throughout service. Say your food took too long. Say it was overcooked. Say it was undercooked. Say it was all this. Let me handle that. Like, but as long as you feel welcome when you come in and you feel like family when you leave, you'll come back.
Agreed.
And I am the type of person that you'd probably get that I would not accept 1 bad service out of 100. Like I personally don't accept that at all, because where I am in the world, I am in a 200-year-old farmhouse turned into a restaurant in the middle of a cemetery in the middle of nowhere. Right? So I take pride in one. Like just recently we got voted like best restaurant in like Quincy, bigger city, Hannibal, like the whole region, right? But I also take more pride in that, like you said, there's so many other restaurants you can go to. You'll pass 10 restaurants that serve the same thing the one you're going to. Why would you go there, right? I have so many people from St. Louis, from Kansas City,
that'll make
from
the drive.
Iowa, that will drive 2-3 hours to come to my restaurant.
Holy shit.
And I've been grateful enough that, you know, we've had magazine articles and, you know, we got hot quick. And when it did, I started to kind of relax, and then instantly was like, nope, don't do that.
Yeah, come
you know, oh yeah. And then
well, if you don't mind, let me take a step back real quick.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were talking about entrepreneurship and everything. And we were talking about the comment that the lady made about earnings, and that kind of stuck in your head. You know, we kind of glossed over. There's a lot of risk involved with starting a business. There's a lot of capital up front. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of effort. It's all on your shoulders. I asked 2 questions. The first question is, you know, was it difficult to mentally accept that burden and to pull the trigger?
Not for me. Remember when I said the dollar is even like, I've just never, it wasn't hard for me, right? It was easy. But I also came from like MMA and stuff like that. Like I'm fighting killers with like a week of training confidently. You know what I mean? Confidently. No care.
No shortage of confidence.
None. You know what I mean? So, and I was getting paid to do it. You know what I mean? There, I was actually, people were paying me to do that, and I was also selling 100 tickets on top of it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have been there if I didn't have the skill set at some point to be in that
To
situation.
warrant all
You
of
know what I
that.
mean? Yeah. So it was kind of like, hey, I'm running cocktail programs for elite people in like the Brentwood, Ladue area. And I'm also getting paid really good side get for these people. Like, I was doing, high school reunions, and these are big deals for these people. Like,
For those of you that aren't really familiar with the St. Louis area, Brentwood, Ladue, I mean Ladue specifically, you're talking about high earners in the St. Louis area. The average home I think goes for over $1 million.
yeah. So I know that I have, like, I had everything that is needed for success, right? So it wasn't anything. I wasn't scared at all. Now my wife, on the other hand,
I was gonna ask. That was the second question.
God bless her heart, she's getting more. I wouldn't say. Sorry, babe, in the future, but I wouldn't say she's more outgoing about situations, but she's more used to, I guess, the benefits from my ideas. But yeah, for me, yeah, I would never put I. She knows that now. Like, I would never put us in a situation that would completely tank. You know what I mean? Our lives, and you know what I mean. So
There's an amount of risk you're willing to take,
absolutely.
but not ultimate
And
risk.
if you're a gambling guy, there's times where to go all in. You go all in. I got the hand. There's a table in front of me. There's players. Like, let's go. You know what I mean?
How many years now then? It's been what, 5, 6 years? That you've had the
Uh,
restaurant?
6.
We were talking off the record that the average restaurant has a lifespan of you were saying 4 years now. So you're
That's why I was looking. It was 2 to 4 years
yeah.
normally. Yeah.
So from what I knew, it was 2 years. I didn't want to speak
Yeah.
over you because obviously you're a subject matter expert. Um, Talk to me about the experience since. I mean, obviously year one is different from year three, different from now. The perspective of starting a business versus maintaining a business versus I don't know what your plans are. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to grow it? Do you want to do a franchise? Or do you want to just keep one location and just maximize the quality? Like, what are some of your goals? Actually, what were some of your goals? And now what are some of your goals?
So my first goal when I got it was, because like I said, this was a 200-year-old farmhouse made of stone. Slave
Yeah,
made.
bold,
It
bold,
was.
bold choice, Cotton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. So my kitchen setup was. It was smaller than this room.
No shit.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, this is a 330 square foot room.
Okay. Yeah, smaller than this, and this was like, I'm talking the dishwashing area, the kitchen,
Everything.
everything, right? So I had a 5-year plan to build on a bigger kitchen. That was like my 5-year plan. 2 years into opening, I built on a 1,000 square foot kitchen, and then turned my old kitchen area, demolished that, and turned it into like a 500 square foot private dining room. So I killed that goal in just a couple years, and then that was really it. Now my main goal is just um, trying to be better every single year. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, this is the same old place, has the same old stuff. Like, it's great for the first, 6 months if you only come once a month or once every couple of weeks, and then it kind of just gets old. Like, I try to keep it fresh, and then I also really want to get a James Beard Award.
I don't know what that is.
So
A
that
James
is,
Beard Award?
yeah. So
Forgive me. I'm ignorant.
It's a so you've heard of Michelin stars.
Yes. Okay.
So those are only in select cities
Okay.
around the world, right? I couldn't get a Michelin star in Palmyra. You have to be in Chicago, Los Angeles, like bigger cities. James Beard, though, is like that, but it's nationwide, right? So it's for elite level restaurants, chefs, mixologists, like anybody in the hospitality industry. You get a James Beard award. That is, that's basically like getting your, 3 Michelin star.
Does that mean
There's
why
guidelines.
forgive me? The question is, why do you want that? Do you feel as if you are not validated if you don't have that, or is that just simply a goal that you want to achieve? Like, what is pushing you towards that? Forgive me.
Yeah, um, it's kind of like how everything I've ever done, like I want to do it at the highest level, right? And it seems like almost everything I've ever done, I've been one flight of stairs away from the highest level, the highest possible peak. And then so I want to actually be at the top of something. And this is something I've been doing my whole life. And I feel that that would just, yeah, maybe validated, maybe accomplished, maybe, I don't know, maybe just the thought of, maybe, I don't know,
It
just to make
confirms.
your family proud of you, just something. But I want, I would like to get the highest achievement just to, yeah, that makes sense.
I think it does. Let me say a story. Let me know if I'm hitting the
Okay.
nail on the head. When I decided to retire from fighting, it was a tough pill for me to swallow, because my whole life I was like, I want to be the best fighter in the world. I didn't want to just make it to the UFC. I wanted to be the best in the world, right? And when that didn't happen, there was a part of me that was like, I put how much time into this? I fucking failed. Like, what am I really? You know what I mean? When I uh when I pursued entrepreneurship myself, and corporate America more specifically, I still tackled it in the same way, but I did have a chip on my shoulder. I did not want to be a failure in this life as well. The the problem is success, like what someone's success is an internal measurement or an internal metric, right? So like for instance, in my line of work, I don't have like this acclamation. I don't have a someone that can give me an award and
Sure,
says,
sure.
"Arion, here you go, you fucking did it." Right? For me, it's maybe a number of employees, like whatever my metric is, right? So when you tell me that in your line of post work, right? Because you live a similar life as me, like you also try to do the damn thing, right? So I'm sure I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure there's some feelings that I'm expressing that you also relate with, of like pursuing something, not necessarily hitting the targeted goals, and feeling some type of way about that. And now you have like this new life, almost this new passion, this new drive, and it does have with it this metric, whatever it is. But it's not your metric. It's a standard across the
Yeah,
across the field. So it's not just I feel like I'm a success. No, no, no,
yeah,
no. Everyone, like I am deemed
yeah.
a success. This is not an
Yeah.
internal. This is an external feeling. This is validation. This is regardless of how you feel about me or my interpersonal relationships with anybody else. This is truly unbiased as it can be.
It's a championship belt.
It validates it. It
You know what I mean?
compliments
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just it's an interesting drive, because you do very well for yourself now compared to obviously the life of a fighter. So you were saying that, like, the dollar to you is kind of like the foregone conclusion. A lot of what you're striving for, a lot of what drives you, is more of the experience, the quality, all these other things. Is this a conversation that you've had? I don't know, you don't have any business partners, right? This is like all you, just yourself. When you're having this conversation with your wife, are you guys aligned with like the goals of the business, the direction, and all these other things? Like, or does your wife want like a different thing? Have you guys had, because I'll once again make this a little easier for you. There have been times where my wife definitely did not see the same vision that I had. You know what I mean? And I,
Oh yeah. That's that's common, very
I
common.
hope
You know what
I
I
hope
mean? Yeah, yeah,
so
very
for my
common.
own
Like
sanity.
she's looking, yeah, she's looking at like numbers and all that, and is that's her goal is she wants to keep us in the green. She just we don't want our employees to miss a check. We don't want bills to go to. We don't want to miss it.
God bless her, by the way, for doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Someone's got to.
And I'm sitting back there going, no, let's cut the menu. I'm gonna do this. I get this award. Like, you know what I mean?
You drive her crazy.
It pays no money, right? But you also look at me like there's so many of my regulars and clients or customers, and I would call them friends now. If you showed them a video of me doing power slap, they would think it's AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why would I ever do that? And I don't want to jump the gun. You're going to talk about this,
No,
but
please
like,
do.
it goes back to like, yeah, why do I want a James Beard Award? Like, it pays me absolutely fucking nothing. I'm already
You're
like,
already
my
crushing it.
weekends are already booked.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even get more people in. Like, the only thing this will do is just back me up months in advance, right? Like, who cares? I've already doing that.
God bless.
But, um, like Power Slap, like, I will say it is life changing for a lot of these kids, right? The money and like all that. But, like, dude, if I have a match in Vegas, I'll probably spend that money. Like, you know what I mean? That's not, why
It's not
would
the
I ever do
monetary
it?
that drives you.
It's the drug of the fight in which I can get is basically it.
Well, surely you understand the luxury or the position you're in now to
Absolutely.
where by the way, we've never set a dollar figure or anything like that, and I'm not trying to get that, but you're whatever that metric is for you, you are now in a position where you're so financially secure that it almost sounds like you're chasing experiences or accolades. Would
Yeah,
that be a fair assessment?
I would say it's extremely fair to say that we all have one life. We're all here. Like, if anybody is sitting at home or at work or anything and they just hate like, there's like one day out of 7 where they're happy and it's their day off, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I've always lived this way. That's why I started fighting and working. That's how I could just have nothing almost and be happy. It's just like, why not get every ounce of this life? You know, every opportunity God throws at you, why not take it?
God bless.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then,
You're an opportunist.
yeah, it's
You just
all,
take care.
yeah,
You
and
just take control of the opportunities provided to you.
yeah, and he provides to me for going with the ride. I think.
So 5, 6 years into this business now, does it still have the same? Does it still scratch the same itch? How are you feel? When I fought year 1 versus year 5 versus year 10, I was in a different place mentally,
Oh
physically,
yeah,
spiritually, emotionally, even like relationship wise, right? So I mean, 6 years, dude, that's a good chunk of change. I mean, year 1, year 3, year 6, are you still in that same environment mentally? Like, where are you at now compared to when you first started?
um. So when you first start, everything is
Yeah,
like you're
hyper focused.
like
Let's fucking go,
you're
boys.
just like you're a sponge. You just want to learn. Like, you just want to try everything, right? See what works, right? And then when you find out what works, then you have the gratification of, okay, we're doing it. Like, this is going. And then it kind of turns into a point where, like, I hired people, with um, a certain set of skills compared to what like we're doing. You know what I mean? And it was really their passion to learn them, and they got good. And then it gets to a point where it's like I'm not needed as much as I used to be. So what happens if you don't really put your mindset into it, and you kind of get,
I don't know if I agree with that because I think every great entrepreneur, what they do is when people ask me like what makes a good businessman, it's a person who seeks to obsolete himself. Truly. If a business needs me to succeed, I did not do a good job setting up my business.
that was my whole goal. I would always tell everybody that, like, even from day one when I started, every cook, I was like, my whole goal is to be the worst cook in this kitchen. Like, I want to be the worst. Like, I want you guys to far succeed what I am, and then
The front of the house guy.
I'll be happy. I love it. You know what I mean?
Be cooking up some drinks.
Yeah, and it's like it just gets to it. I don't know. It's like a weird. I guess you would call it like a creative block, or like a writer's block, where after you do it for so long, and then if you're not, if you don't have to be there, if I go there now 5 hours a day when I was going, 10, 12 hours a day, there's a difference. It's whatever. But I've got some stuff working now that is driving me pretty good. Is kind of is getting me
Filling that
back.
void.
Yeah.
I think one of the worst quotes ever is when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I've never heard anything more stupid. Even a porn star wakes up and says, I got to go to work in the morning. You know what I mean? So I'm not, I'm serious.
I always say that. Yeah, it's like
I think work is work, but what it is like what I asked two questions. Would you rather work for yourself or would you rather work for someone else? And there's no wrong answer to that. There's no wrong answer to that. If you're not susceptible to risk, if you don't want to take all this other stuff, then be an employee. There's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe you are, but you love your employer. Like it's you really are enamored with leadership and you follow their vision and you believe in the product. Nothing wrong with that. Like if you're happy, you're happy. I'm not telling you to make yourself unhappy. But then there's some people that say like, no, I do want to do it for myself. Like why would I work for someone else when I can pursue my own dreams and aspirations? Great. Awesome. The next thing is going back to martial arts, get ready for consistency. And what is the hardest thing in sport? What is the hardest thing in life? What is the hardest thing in anything? It's consistency. It's hard showing up. It's easy showing up on a Sunday fun day sparring and looking like a world beater. You know what I mean? It's hard doing that year after year,
uh,
throughout a career.
it's consistency is the key.
Yes.
Everything should be the same on a Tuesday as it is on Saturday. Should be the
And
exact
year
same.
one versus year five
Yeah.
versus year 20.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any slides. And don't get me wrong, we've had lots of slides, but it is what it is. You got to get back up and go with it.
Does owning a restaurant scratch an itch you didn't think you had? Like, what are some of the emotions you get from like a Saturday where it's been busy and you were in the back of the house and 5 hours flew by because all you were doing was slinging out plates, and you're getting a lot of love and admiration, and people are coming in the back and saying, "Hey, great steak! Oh my gosh!" All these other things. What are some of the emotions that you feel from, a weekend that goes really well?
So I guess a little, I wouldn't say blunt about things, but like, I'm not trying to be funny or sarcastic a lot of times, but like when somebody, they said they had this is the best they drove from here, and I was like, what would you expect them to say? And I'm not saying that to be like a pompous asshole. Like, you did your job, we did ours. That's what I want to hear. That makes me feel good. But like maybe the way I present it sometimes, I'm a little, yeah. What, you know what I mean? What did
Best
you?
steak I ever had. Colton turns around. Yeah, I know.
It's like, well, that's what I want, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's my goal. But my whole, I guess you're looking for, where's my gratification coming from? Like on like
Or
that.
if there is,
My
if there is,
gratification is serving people, is to have the people that can um, come in once a year, save their money all year long to take their wife out for that anniversary meal, to come to my restaurant. You know what I mean? And not still not be able to maybe afford the $50 steaks or anything, but just come there and give their wife, their daughter a birthday, an anniversary that is just meaningful to them. that they do every single year and that these people will grow up or just remember, that is what's gratifying to me. It's not being busy. It's not, compliment. Everybody like compliments. I'm not gonna sit here and like lie and like, you know what I mean. It makes you know you're doing the right choices, making the right decisions on not only who you're hiring but what you're putting out. But what gratifies me is that, yeah, like, when I walk out to a table and it's a couple and they're celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary and this is their fourth year in a row coming here, and they both work, part-time factory jobs, and they, you know what I mean, and they save up all year, and then those compliments. Um,
They could have done anything with their
they
time.
could
They
have.
could have spent their money anywhere
I
else,
mean,
but
this
they
is,
chose you.
yeah, this is, it's not, this is still hard-earned money that they're coming to
Absolutely.
spending, because it's hard to come to my restaurant and come out under $100. I'll just be honest, and that's just, it's not because I feel like I have such a high dollar amount for my time. It's no, I get the best product and I'm shipping them to the middle of nowhere, like, and I don't want to sell a bad product, right? And
You could go cheaper, but
I could go.
then it's
Oh
gonna
my
be
gosh,
cheaper.
yeah, I could go horrible, but I just want to. It's it's still my art. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it's still my painting. I want to put it out there. I want it to be the best it could be.
I'd make the argument. I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want this to sound like an insult. I'd make the argument that you're providing a real service to the people that, it's easy to go to these really nice restaurants. When I go to Chicago, when I go to New York, I mean, dude, literally the amount of like amazing restaurants you have, like
So many.
6 in a block, right?
Yeah.
Let me know if I'm sounding a little asshole-ish here, but it's difficult to get a similar experience out in a rural area, especially in, like, in the Rust Belt in the middle of. I'm sure you have like a fish special. How fucking hard is it to get fresh fish, or like as fresh as you fucking can get it in the middle of the Rust Belt, in the middle of in the nation? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like you have to operate with the circumstances of reality.
Yeah.
So you are providing the best possible product that you can, considering the circumstances, and if that means a premium price, or what is perceived to be a premium price, it is what it is. But to your point though, you, it's not as if you need people to come out there Monday through Friday. Sometimes it can be the people that come out once a year or twice a year for a birthday, for an anniversary, for whatever it is that they're celebrating, and that's okay.
That's a driving factor for the whole year.
You
You
could
know
have
what I
gone
mean?
anywhere else.
Like those are the, and I still obviously love taking care of the people who come weekly. Like I said, they're not even customers or friends at this point. You know what I mean? See them, but yeah, and they support me. But yeah, it's the people that that truly appreciate what you're doing. You know what I mean? That it's like it's hard-earned money they could have done anything with in the
Well, they're
world,
supporting you financially.
anything, and they chose for the most special time of their whole year in their little bubble, they wanted to spend it under your roof. That's that's huge.
God bless Colton. Seriously, seriously.
You know what I mean?
I love the way you look at it too. I think you said a lot of things today about entrepreneurship, about your service, about your craft, that are correct. The responsibility you feel for the people that work underneath you is correct. The gratitude that you feel towards the people that patronize with you, correct. The uh, the pain that you give yourself to maintain a quality product and be consistent is correct. I don't think that you're doing this the wrong way, and it is no shock to me that you've been in business for 6 years, and it's no shock to me that you're doing great. And all I can say is, dude, congratulations, good job. Seriously,
Appreciate it.
God bless. Before we pivot outside of the restaurant business, is there anything else you want to say on the topic? because now we're gonna talk about now we're gonna go.
Let's get in it. Let's get in it.
All right. I hate to say it this way right from the beginning, but what the fuck, man? You went from cage fighting, half naked, back when it wasn't the sexiest sport alive, to in a lot of ways kind of pioneering another sport. Let me ask first the question of how were you even approached at competing on Power Slap? And for those that don't know, Power Slap is like, I guess, the premier slap league. It's in the same family of products sold from WME IMG, who just got bought out by, no, they just bought out the WWE, so still same parent company. But essentially, the UFC, UFC BJJ, Power Slap, WWE. There's another one now.
Zuffa Boxing.
Zuffa Boxing, thank you. They're all under the same banner now. How do you even find yourself in this world? Who contacted you?
So I seen it just how everybody else in the world sees it, right? You're scrolling on your phone, you see something, and you're like, what the hell
Holy
are they
shit.
doing? And then you see a grown man just stone cold somebody with an open hand slap, right? It is jarring to watch, right? It's scary. You're like, what did I just watch? You got to watch it a few times. And I remember seeing
You got to, for science. For
yeah,
science.
I remember seeing it and just like what in the hell is this? Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, honestly, couldn't believe it.
My very first thought was, is this legal?
That's what I had no idea. And then, like, when I seen Dana White was behind it and all this, I was like, what the fuck? I just couldn't. Coming from fighting, right? Like, if you're training 20 hours a week, 18 of those hours a week are basically learning how to not to get hit, right?
Yeah.
Is to evade damage and inflict damage, right? And this whole thing was damage. There's no getting around it, right?
No defense.
So I am obviously not an advocate for it, but I think it's extremely entertaining.
Yes.
And I was on Facebook scrolling, and one of my old teammates, TJ Thomas, like had changed his profile picture, and it's him and Dana White, and he's wearing a Power Slap jersey, and I was like, get the fuck out. And he was one of the guys that came with me to Kyle's gym after the Hit Squad, right? So I messaged him, and I'm like, dude, did you do that for real? And either way around, yeah, we were talking about it. And like it was, but it wouldn't leave my brain. It wouldn't like why am I no, I'm not thinking about doing that. Like you start talking to yourself like, just stop thinking. Why are you thinking about Power Slap? It's stupid, right? But like I said before, I looked in the mirror and I got on the scale and I was 265 pounds. I looked at the calendar and on my schedule, and I said, I can't train for an MMA fight. There's absolutely no, I could, but not going to be reasonable. It'll be taking away too much time from my family and my work. And
Well, especially if you want to get the weight down, right? Because you fought at like what, 170,
I was
185?
170 and 185, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, and like I said, it always in the back of your mind to fight if you've ever fought. It don't matter how old you get, probably how far away. You could flip your station, see the UFC on, and see some dude get double legged, and you're like, dude, I would have sprawled. And then now, next thing you know, it's in your head, and
every fight I go to,
exactly.
I think I leave going, I can get back in shape,
dude. Yeah,
I can fucking get back in there.
Like, how do you get hit with that uppercut? You know what I mean?
We're assholes now.
Yeah, so like that's just always in your head. And then, like I said, I was overweight. Only way I knew how to truly get my health back in order was to sign a contract to fight. I looked at the time, and I kept looking at Power Slap. I kept thinking about it, and I was looking at the guys on the roster at that moment, right? I'm like, dude, these dudes they're never fighters. They're not. I was like, it would be like competition, right? You get up there and you got the crowd, and I was like, and if I sign up at 205, I'll be there. So I was talking back and forth to TJ, and he's talking to the matchmakers there because he's already in it, right? He's already done
So
it.
he was your connection. Okay.
So he was my connection in, and then I remember when I put the form out, and he was telling me he was in connection back and forth, with the matchmaker and all this stuff. I started dieting, right? I started to kind of, okay, well, who knows when these, because this is when like shows weren't really announced like months in advance. Like they were kind of like, oh, you're looking scrolling UFC. Oh, next week there's what the fuck's Power Slap, right?
Well, because the sanctioning bodies in each state haven't accepted it yet. Even now, I don't believe it's
No, they're
sanctioned in
not in
all
every
states.
state, no.
So it's like you can't really
So
put a
it
calendar
was
because
just
you
the
don't
Nevada
know.
State Athletic,
Yeah.
yeah. So once I knew that they, Power Slap had my name in their folder, I started, okay, well, let me
They'll
start
call you
dieting.
eventually.
Yeah, I don't know when. I'm gonna start dieting, whatever. And like 5 months went by, and then all of a sudden I get a call, Las Vegas, Nevada. I was like, "Who's this?" I answer it. It's Power Slap, right? It's matchmaker asking me, if I could go next. It was the next week. It was International Fight Week. I remember it was a Thursday, and the match was that next Friday for 205. And I was like, let me get on scale. Let me call you back. And I also kept asking questions because I didn't think it was real. I thought it was
Yeah,
fucking,
fair.
you know what I mean? So I was like, I was kind of BSing around. I remember getting on the scale and I was 242.
Holy shit.
And I was like, I can't make 205 a week, right? There's a difference from, cutting 20, 30 pounds when you're in shape and your body's ready to go.
Dude, even that is intense,
it's tough.
bro.
It's tough. So, yeah, I wasn't in shape to make a weight cut like that.
Yeah.
I died.
Because you can't cut 20 pounds of water,
Yeah.
30 pounds of water.
So I remember lying and telling them that I was 228, and I was like, I'll do a catch weight at 210, 215 if they'll do it. If they say yes, you can book the ticket. I'll show up. You ain't got to worry about anybody else. That's when I started using my mouthpiece a little bit. You don't have to worry about anybody else backing out of this guy. I'll be there, blah, blah, blah. So they were like, okay. And I was like, oh, shit. Because now, not only did I lie, they think I only have like a 10-pound weight cut. Now I have a
20-pound weight cut easy.
25-pound weight cut, right?
Yeah, that's at 215.
Yeah, so it was a 215.
They come back at 210. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it was a 215 catch
Don't call
weight.
me out on my bullshit.
Yeah, 215 catch weight. And,
that's ballsy, brother.
Yeah, and that was the thing is that was Thursday. This deal was going down. Come Friday, I'm at the hospitals getting. I get a CAT scan and MRI. Like,
oh yeah, because all the
medicals,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing that all day on top of trying
what is that?
to make
What is that like compared to fighting? Similar, in terms of the medical.
It's all more like more than any regional thing, like everything. Like you had to get a special eye doctor, dilate your pupils and like do all that. And like
ever since Bisbing, he ruined that for all of us.
Yeah, like where I'm at in the world. There's one doctor. He's from St. Louis. He's actually funny. He did my wife's cataract
surgery.
Yeah, here when we lived here, but he goes up there once a fucking month in Hannibal, and it just so happened to be that Friday. So
divine intervention.
It's crazy. So I do all the medicals, and then like I'm flying out on Monday, so everything's just a whirl like. But what it did was, and this is what I think hooked me, it got me straight back into that zone, that fighting. Like
it dialed you
now
in.
I'm at night, I'm in a sauna suit, sweats, I'm running the block, right? I'm shadow boxing, I'm doing all this, and when I land, I'm doing pictures, I'm doing posters, I'm doing all the media stuff, I'm doing all the anti-doping stuff, and then I'm going to the training center, getting in the sauna, getting in the hot tub, cutting weight, and then going to the hotel, being able to sleep, getting food style. Like the whole world just came back to me, and I wasn't how I said I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't a fighter anymore. I was for that week. I'm talking. I was getting fights with kids like on the street. Like I turned into a monster. Like it happened so quick. Like I remember this.
You
like,
went back to a menace.
no, like yeah, it was fast, and I remember.
I asked you that earlier, motherfucker. I was like, "Are you sure it's like a mental or physical?" You're like, "Oh, I'm not the same guy."
I'm not.
Look at you now.
I'm not now. Like that was that one time.
But if you sign up for a fight,
And well, also I went and did like the Ultimate Fighter like series for them, Power Slap Road to the Title. I kind of turned back into that, but it was like if you went to prison and you're around a bunch of inmates, what are you gonna do? You're gonna try to,
you can be hard.
yeah. But for whatever reason,
Pause.
that week it snowballed back into I call them just the good old times, the good days,
Simple.
the good days
Simple.
where
You didn't care about anything but the thing in front of you.
I got on that plane, left my family for war.
See you guys in a week and a half.
I wasn't gonna eat.
What did your wife say? Hold on. What did your wife say?
Dude, she
Hey,
was-
baby.
Well, so yeah, when I first
See you in a week.
when I first seen it, I remember we both were like just watching this, and we would go online and we'd look at people on the roster and we'd laugh and like watch their videos like, oh my god, could you imagine losing to that guy? Blah blah blah. So she was just like, what are you like? She was cool with it. 'Cause we dated when we were fighting and like all that. She was great, but yeah, it was weird that first week. Yeah, I did it. I think it was too quick of a turnaround. You know, you give me 1 week notice,
Well, dude, it's also, it's a completely, it's technically like in the martial arts family, but
No,
a
it's
completely different fucking world.
it's nice.
No, I'm sure there's a science to it, dude.
So we
Torque in the hips, like here. I need to. There was a moment where I looked at that sport too, where I was like, "What the fuck am I looking at?" But that's the same way people looked at me getting into a cage. They didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I always have to kind of like taper my. I always have to tell myself, what is the perspective I don't. What do I know what I don't know? And the answer is no. So obviously there's something to this, right? I know for a fact I will never do it. Why? Because of that defense option. And then I learned something about myself. I don't like fucking people hitting me. I fought for 14 years and I still, to this day, don't like people hitting me. It's not a skill set I acquired.
I just did an interview and they were like, and I told them I was like, I hate being hit. Hated it. I trained 5-6 days a week, twice, 3 times a day
To not be hit.
to learn how to not be hit and to set up my offensive. And they were like, why would you do this? I'm like, well, it's different. Like, one, I was just saying, like, yeah, I thought, I was like, there's no way I would ever do, like, there's no way. Why would I let some dude come off the street and even, my mindset was they shouldn't even have the opportunity to hit a guy that's had as much training as
They
me,
got to earn it.
right? So, like, if this guy wanted to get in a fight with me, like on this, like you would really have to earn putting your hands on him,
Yeah.
right? And now I'm just gonna let him do it. So I had that little obstacle, but just like how you said, like who am I to say it's disgusting? I've never done it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was, we did human cockfighting. It wasn't even about like, is this like, up to my par or whatever. It's not a question of class. It's a question of truly the reason why I would never do it is because of what you said earlier. No, motherfucker, if you want to hit me, I ain't fucking sitting there and letting you hit me. It is a mental thing more than any other. It's not as if I think they're beneath me.
Yeah.
It's that I wouldn't sit there and let you hit me. You're going to have to earn it. So like it's a mental thing. But by no means did I ever look at it thinking like they're subpar. They are willing to do something. I will get in a fucking cage and throw shin bone to chin, but I won't let a man slap me. So like that's not a overarching thing. That's a personal thing. Does that make sense? I never looked at this sport as if like it was beneath me or beneath what I did. As far as I'm concerned, like that's the perspective I think a lot of boxers have on MMA, and I think they're incorrect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you think you're classier than me? All right, dude, whatever gets you off.
I will say this, that yeah, like that was kind of like how I took it And I'll be honest. Yeah, no, I thought it was
You can pull that closer to you if it makes it more
like I
comfortable. Yeah, you're
thought that
fine.
was kind of it was hard to watch for me at first, just knowing like what I know is probably going to happen off that if you're just standing there, And this is when, like, so my first power slap match was a power slap 3. So there wasn't a whole lot, like, but I went into it with a fighter mentality of, like, me and TJ, we're both pro fighters, right? And we started a little group here in St. Louis, Guerrilla Smack Systems. And we tried to our thought process was like so Militich, like when MMA was like super underground, they
Pat
took
Miletich.
they put a system to it. They tried to figure it out, right? It's like, hey, we both fought, we know how to throw, and I know the science behind somebody going unconscious on this.
Creating a curriculum for it.
Yeah, so we like I don't know. We kind of we approached it like how we approach pro fighting, right? With training, like right exercises to get that, and then knowing what makes somebody go to sleep. We already knew that, right? And through hands, and so I mean, I took it serious because if I was getting paid serious money, like I wouldn't go in
But you're
and
also putting yourself in serious
yeah,
danger.
I'm putting myself. Yeah, that's another
Make
thing
no
too.
mistake about it. Like a slap versus a fist, like as far as I'm concerned, it's head trauma. Head trauma is
There's
head trauma.
I've been
Whether you get
hit.
tackled on a football field, slammed on a hockey rink, or punched or kicked or slapped on the head, it's all the same fucking trauma.
Yeah, I would say one of my benefits from going in is knowing what I knew what I was walking into. A lot of these guys have never been hit in the head face before.
No shit.
Ever. Like some like when they first started, like had never been punched in the face, never been in a fight, never ever.
Wow.
I'm like, ooh, that's gonna be a shock.
God bless them.
Like I knew going up exactly what I was signing up for, right? And yeah, no, it feels like I mean, getting one of those slaps is like, when you're sparring and you get caught with a 14-ounce glove clear on your chin.
Yeah, surface area.
Yeah, like shot. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels
Feel
like.
the lightning in your toes.
Oh.
You're like, oh my God.
Like the flash, even if I got dropped my ass the first time because we didn't know what kind of defense. So I went in thinking, so I box, right? Big right hand, I'm going to roll with it. You know what I mean? Take
Some of the off of it.
Yeah. Well, I mistake the timing and was just a limp noodle. I was like, okay, all right, we're in this.
Woke you up.
Yeah. And that was another thing I think hooked me on it too, because that happened. And then, yeah, that was like, all right, shit, this is a fight. Like, I love this.
You know what? I don't realize how much I miss contact, but not like I was telling Logan, I live such a domesticated life now. When people contact me, it's a hug. Like my wife, my daughter, it's a handshake or whatever. I hate to say it this way. I kind of fucking miss like feeling a punch or a kick on the arm or shoulder or just impact. If that this sounds so stupid, I know. Like
To who?
to
I'm telling you, that's why.
And you fucking got hit, and you're
I
like,
was,
let's
I
fucking
was,
go.
I was in the same boat, right? Just doing that, and then all of a sudden, within that 1 week, it turned into everything that brought me back to when I was getting ready for a war, right? Even though even like when you remember when you'd walk in and you just see your opponent, even at like a weigh-in or anything, just that feeling like, okay, you want to fight me?
You look at a human and you size, like you are looking at every variable of them, from their toes to their hairline. You're like, where's he at? How's he doing? How big is he? How tall is he? Where's his arm length at? Ooh, he's actually a lot taller than I thought he'd be. Man, he's a little thicker than I thought he'd be. I felt I was like married to the fucking game though too. Like I have no problem saying this. There's a lot of fighters that like think they're fucking fighters. I was not that guy. I knew I was cut from that cloth, and the way I approached the game was completely different than most of the guys that I knew. Uh, the,
Here,
Forgive me. I want to take a step back. The one thing I will say is I'm getting envious the more you're talking.
I'll say this. I knew you were cut from that cloth, right? So I don't think we've ever talked about this, right? We both, I think, when you were fighting and I was trickling my career down, we were flying different flags, right? But I remember specifically, I fought Brad Jones at River City, right? Rest in peace, by the way.
Yeah.
Also,
Jesus.
you fought Cortavius, right? So
Yeah, same card.
same card. I was on, and this is right after Cortavius came off that highlight reel spin kick, right? And I'm on St. Charles, like Team Vahis, like that's my affiliate, right? And thought very highly of Cortavius, especially when that happened. And you knew as an amateur too, like I know when I was doing amateur fighting, one, film on your opponent was very rare. And two, if you had film on your opponent and that guy had a knockout, holy shit, right?
It was intimidating.
I remember the training and all this, and that had came out. I thought highly of Cortez. He's very nice, hardworking kid. But I was like, at the weigh-ins, I remember even telling Kirk, I was like, everybody was so sure of Cortavius because he was not going to be amateur for long, right? I was like, I mean, why doesn't he know what everybody else knows, the guy he's fighting? And they were like, oh, no, he's like, he hasn't had that many fights or like whatever. I'm like, no, but just look at him. Because you, motherfucker, you weren't
There was no shortage of
yeah,
confidence.
no. Like, you were in it. And I remembered being in the back warming up, right? And that fight was on. That's when they had TVs, right? And I was like, I stopped everything. I was like, I'm gonna watch this. I was like, because that kid knows something that we all don't. Especially after that, he had to have watched that video 100 times before he stepped in there. There's no fucking way.
Do you know how many people told me not to do it?
Oh,
Because I was bumping up a weight class to fight him, and he had just knocked out David Evans with a spinning wheel knockout.
yeah, no,
And everyone was talking about how he was going to go pro. And you said it earlier. I was like, I'm an amateur, and I cleaned out 135. So I was like, I need to know if I'm a fighter.
yeah.
I took it. By the way, I was fucking petrified.
You
I was.
had to have been.
I knew he could easily
Yeah.
knock me the fuck
You
out.
had to have been because that's what like this like, and I have never talked to you. You can confirm that this story has never came
No.
off or anything. And I'm telling you how I knew you were different is because I was the same way. All those people are telling you not to take the fight. I thought this kid was crazy. I was like, you weren't like smaller by any means, but Cortavius is
He's a physically imposing individual.
Yes, and I was like, and you look so young, but I remember telling Kirk, I was like, he knows something. Everybody in this whole arena and everybody in this back doesn't. I was like, I'm gonna watch this, right? And holy fuck, you won.
Yeah, he cracked me in the first like 10 seconds though.
Yeah, you knew
It
you
was
were
a
getting
fucking
cracked.
fight.
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit. And I was like, this kid fucking serious. And I remember talking to Cortavius in like the casino afterwards. I felt horrible for him. You know what I mean? Especially coming off such a high.
I felt bad at. Here's the one thing I didn't like about all this. The one thing I didn't like about this was the timing. I had just left St. Charles, and Cortavius had just gone to St.
Yeah.
Charles, and the marketing that Shamrock did was like, Arion's gonna get back at his gym. I'm like, dude, it had nothing to do with Mike. I had nothing but respect for Mike and all those guys, and now I have a great relationship. But the way they marketed it was like, and I even said it in the interview. I was like, I see holes in his game that I think I can exploit, and I know that he's training at St. Charles MMA, but he's gonna need years to fix the bad habits that he's learned. And by the way, spoiler warning, I was right, but it was never a like I was never insulting Mike or Jeff Henry or any of the guys there. They had just got done training me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I didn't even know all that. I didn't remember
that was
all that.
keen on my conscience. I did not like that.
Only thing I knew was that was going viral, and I was going and doing some sparring there and stuff before my match and getting to know them. And
Were they confident before that one?
I'm telling you, were they the world, like everybody in the like, and if it would have broke your heart if somebody would have walked around taking bets in the crowd, you wouldn't have.
I knew that everyone thought I was going to lose. I knew.
No, yeah, and I remember, and I vividly remember just being like, nah, I was like, he knows something that we all don't, or he's dumb. And I
think I was just dumb, brother.
No, it was you're intense. I was like, he's way too intense to like, because he knows he at some point after there's weigh-ins and there's people, like he's got to be in a cage with this kid, and this kid just did that.
And I was talking a lot of shit.
There's a limit to, like, even me, like fighters and stuff. Like, there's selling a fight, and then there's the realization of the fight, right? So I'll sell a fight to whatever you want me to. Like, you want me to say the guy's a bum, he's a bum, right? You want me to do this, but there's things I'm not going to say because I know I'm the one that's going to be locked in there. Like, you know what I mean? I hate to spoil the industry, but there's things you don't say.
Yeah.
Like, and you could call it, oh, I just don't disrespectful. That's no. That's, you got to be in there with them. And
well, I still agree with you though. You want to know one of the things I never did?
what?
I never brought in people that weren't going to get into the fight. So like
That's honorable.
I talked a lot of shit, but if you look back on any of my fights, on any of the shit that I talked, it was always to that individual. His skill set. I never brought in the team. I never brought in the loved ones, the religion, any of that
skill set.
Hey, you fucking suck. I'm going to beat your ass. You're going to get in there. It was always to that individual. I never crossed the line because I never wanted someone else to like, if someone talked shit about me, I was fine with that. But I never wanted anybody to talk about my dad or my team or anything like that. Like, hey, you're fighting me. Like, talk shit about me. That was my one rule, was keep it to them.
Well, let's say, the same thing, all right? You didn't do that, so nobody would do it to you, because then that person would have to get locked in with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if somebody, talked about, my family, my wife, a kid, if
That's
somebody,
too
like,
much.
that's different.
Too much.
Now we're fighting
We're
every
crossing
time
the
we see
line.
each other.
Yeah, we're crossing
like, you
the
know
line.
what I mean? Like, if I happen to see you getting your hands wrapped, I'm hitting you.
Dude,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
we have a real problem at that point. It's not sport anymore.
That's one thing the power slap guys that aren't like real, I call them real fighter. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like fighters, they just never fought before. They tend to say things that
a little wild.
Like, thank God for me that nobody's done that with me.
Oh, really? That bad?
Because like you watch some of these interviews and like, man, you think, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna go to the hotel lobby, they're gonna be fighting. Like, they're standing this far away just talking to a different crowd. Like, some of these things these kids say, like if they said it to me, like, it's every time I see you, buddy. Like, I've got to, because the last thing I want to do is for my son 10 years from now pull this up on YouTube and be like, man, what'd you do to him after he said that about you? I'm like, oh no, I went and got a slap fight and got knocked out. No. Even if I got knocked out doing what I signed up to do,
I'll see you in the background.
I smoked him 15 times before that whole week. He come up there all messed up. You know what I mean?
I'm glad that you said that. Thank you. First of all, thank you. Because once again, remember what I was saying earlier about, like, I forget some of this shit half the time, dude. But now that you're talking about it, it brings it up to me.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Well, I had been out of MMA for a while, like leading up to that fight. I remember Brad hadn't fought for a while, but I was only, I think I was 25, 26. So I was still young. I just hadn't fought since like I was 22.
You had also started fighting very young. So it's like, I mean, you had some experience already considering how young you were.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was running a gym. We were both experienced, like, guys. But, yeah, I remember, and I was completely out of MMA. Like, I didn't know who amateurs or pros or anything. I just had that always stuck in my mind, that fight right before he fought you, was viral, and then this little dude is like super confident, and I was like, man, if I was an amateur, I'd be fucking
Do you know how many?
scared.
Do you know how many people like at weigh-ins and stuff like that? Because so the problem is, I was always that guy. I was always super confident and stuff like that. But Shamrock was the first promotion that like told me, "Hey, we do pre-fight interviews." I go, "Okay, cool." So they put a camera in my face and like, "How do you feel?" I was like, "I'm gonna fuck this guy up." I just talk. If you and I were to have that conversation in the gym, I would have said the exact same things. The only difference was they put a camera in front of my face. I did not feel anything when I was doing the interview, but I'm not gonna lie to you. When the interview got aired, I was not ready for how many people cared about what I said.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I thought it was gonna be something small.
Was that cow when I was fighting him is like, how do you see this fight going? I just kept saying I'm gonna whoop his ass. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
What else do you want me to
It's,
say?
thank God I won, or that would have been bad for the.
Trust me. Listen, you know what I learned? I just don't care.
No, I didn't.
Like win or lose, you're not gonna fucking dictate how I feel. I've had fights. Demetrius Wilson, I lost a split decision, and then Austin Bashi, I lost a fight bad. You know what I mean? TKO in the second round. I don't care. I'm gonna speak my fucking piece. It's your job to make me own it. I don't care. And like I said, I have my boundaries. Like there are limits I won't cross. The golden rule, as it were. I will talk the shit. I expect you to talk to me. But I just thought to myself, like, you're gonna fucking hit me. You're gonna make me pay for each one of my words. What do I care?
That's how like when I would say shit. I'm like, yo, in my head, I was like, man, I'm talking wild.
Dude, I remember your little rivalry with Sella. Whoo!
That wasn't even like.
I remember the weigh-ins. I forget, was it your second time fighting him? Because I remember the first time there was some controversy with the elbows to the back of the head, right?
On his part.
Yeah. Sorry,
they were definitely back of the
yeah.
head.
So like it was there was like a lot of like emotions going into the second fight. You know what I mean? And I remember you at the weigh-ins were like, "Fuck you!" like flipping him off. So for me, I was like, "Attaboy." Like I love that shit.
I was amped up. Like it was the thing was like, so the first fight, and the only reason I took it, because like I said, like I had after I had a huge break, and then I went to fight. I fought Brad. Like I put effort. I trained hard. I got what I put out, right? And then I kind of, all right, I got my fix. And then they kept throwing fights at me. So I was like, I'm an addict for fighting at this point. So how can I say no, right? Sean, I don't think I trained 4 times for it. Maybe.
Woodson?
Yeah, Woodson, maybe 4. And it wasn't a disrespect. Like he's not tough. Like
No,
it's
just
just
where
my
you're at in your life.
dedication, like to it. Yeah, so
We're talking about Sean Woodson.
yeah, when I only trained like a week, and that out of all the fights that I've ever had, it's not a fight that I look back and wish that I would have worked harder for or anything. It was one of those things where he was in the gym at a young. He was at his squad when he was young.
Oh yeah, he trained with you.
Yeah, real young, and I knew he's good. He was good then, like you know what I mean.
His style,
But
his
and
body.
especially like, I couldn't look back. I knew that I wasn't looking back at like 21-year-old me and 15-year-old him. It wasn't a fight, right? This was both grown pros, whatever. My thing was like, I wanted him to succeed, and I didn't want to be a part of his not success, right? So like I wasn't going to show up in there and like really not try to win, obviously.
Yeah.
So like, and then there was I feel like probably some manipulation in the contract to get us to sign it.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was messaging him, I was like, hey, why do you want to fight me? Because I'm getting messages from the promotion saying he wants to fight you, like in screenshots of it. So I'm showing him like, hey, he's like, no, either, whatever. So then I finally just was like, okay, yeah, you want to sign the contract, whatever, do it. But I had no like,
I could tell you right now, there was never bad blood with you and
I
Sean.
never had bad
In
like
fact, when we
no,
were, because I was training with Sean for that fight, Sean had nothing but nice things to say about you,
yeah, no, I didn't,
and about your skill set.
yeah, I
He
didn't
took that
want
fight very
to.
seriously.
Yeah, I felt like, and like the whole time I remember leading up, like I was like, no, no, I'm not taking him down. That's what everybody does. I'm gonna strike. Like he was like, he ain't gonna. I was like, yeah. I was like, fuck no. Well, I'm not gonna sit there and get pitter pattered by those long ass
Brother,
jabs all day. I was like, my
I shot for
wrestling's.
I shot for takedowns
I
every
was like, I
sparring
got
session.
strong wrestling. Uh, my body wasn't strong. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? My skill and my body, they weren't gonna match up in there either way around. But
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know about you, but I take a lot of pride in my life. Like losses can either age poorly or they can age well. And when your losses age well, I don't want to say like it makes me feel better, but like the guy that beat me last is now in the UFC crushing it.
sure.
And trust me, like every time he wins, I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, you just make me feel better. I hate to say it that way, but it makes me feel better. So at the very least, like if you got a couple of losses on your record, and these are guys are in the UFC now fucking crushing it, like there's worse guys to lose to. You know what I mean?
My thing was I've never had, um, never, ever, 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 ever hated or disliked anyone that I fought. No matter what was said, no matter what was done, no matter. I've always wished nothing but the best for them. Like no matter what I said, but how I truly felt. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got to be a special person just to do this, anyways.
Yeah.
And when you're fighting and you think highly of yourself, you now think highly of them because they're it's like, oh, I wouldn't fight me. Like you want to, bet.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
You can't help but like them
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
because
It's
they
like the only thing that like yeah. So I've never felt ill about it, and I really just didn't want that fight. It was like the whole time, even if I just like man, just I seen this kid. He was training there when he was like in high school, like
fighting is also weird because like you're training to cause harm to someone physically, but like when it's all said and done, like after the fight, even fights where there was some bad blood, you can't help but like come together because on the opposite side of that cage or ring or whatever, that guy trained for the last 8 to 12 weeks specifically for you. He cut weight for you. He felt like shitting his pants before the fight. Like he went through all the same things you do and you did. So you, at least for me, maybe I'm
unless you're
wrong.
fighting me.
Yeah,
I'm just joking.
but like I always felt like this like respect afterwards. Like,
Yeah,
thanks,
absolutely.
dude. It takes two to tango.
Yeah, yeah,
You did everything that you had to do to show up, and I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, what else can you say?
yeah,
Win, lose, or draw. I always shook everybody's hand, even the people that beat me,
yeah. I
no matter
never.
what.
And you're right. Yeah, after I lost, then that motivation would come back. Like, so like if I trained 6, 8 weeks straight for when I fought Brad, right? Then I fought Sean. I trained like 6, 8 days. You know what I mean? Lost to Sean, and then I trained. You know, I was like training for weeks, and then the Sella fight came about. But that came about. Why I took it in the first place was when I was coming up, right? When I was like when we were at the hit squad, and I truly thought highly of myself, my skill set. I mean, I was so much better, right? And I remember that people were talking about Adam, and this was like all the same times, right? Like we're both fighting amateurs, I think, at the time. I went pro. He had gone pro like shortly after, maybe. I can't really remember, but I remember hearing his name, and I remember looking him up or like watching his fights and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm fighting murderers. Like I will, like this dude. There ain't no way, right? So it turned into that like mental thing that like I'll beat this guy like no matter what, right? I didn't take in account that when I actually would fight him was then when he was amping up, like ramping up his training like crazy, you know, taking it way more serious than like when I was taking it super serious that I was not, right? But the opportunity was there and I had spoken it to enough people that if it was going to come true, why would I turn it down, right? And I was very serious about that first time. I could remember my whole goal. I just wanted to rush him, get on his legs, take him down, control him, pound on him, because you know in his past performances at that time, where if I get him on his back and I keep him there long enough, he'll give me the fight, no matter what happens in between, right? But when I was going for a single leg, and somebody starts elbowing you, right? I'm going to use the rule set to my advantage to not get hit.
So you turned your head.
So I put everything in my arms, right, while I'm holding on. So the only thing that's visible is illegal shots.
Yeah.
So if I get hit, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the rules, right, to my advantage. I get hit there. But I kept getting hit there. I remember hearing the ref saying you're hitting behind the head, but I was still getting hit behind the head. So I remember like dropping down to be like, okay, well, maybe this will show them to let's stop the hitting behind the head. And I remember they stopped it. All right, we're getting a point. Good.
No, they
And
stopped the fight.
yeah, they stopped the whole fucking fight. And I was like, whoa. I was like, not really what I was planning to do on that situation, right?
What happened with that one? Because you challenged it, right? Or did you not challenge it? What was the outcome of
No,
that?
I
'Cause
won.
I remember
He got disqualified.
he got disqualified.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. That's right. Sorry, forgive me. Because
Yeah, no. He got disqualified. And then,
that's what led the rematch.
He
sorry.
challenged it, and they wouldn't overturn it, you know.
Well, because he was doing illegal
Yeah,
strikes.
it was 100%. Like, and I get where he was coming from. Trust me, I get it because.
What did he say? Sorry, where was he coming from?
Well, he was saying they weren't illegal. I don't understand where he's coming from there, but I understand that he came from Vegas. He had trained, like he put a new resurgence. He was given that his career one final like
Push.
serious push, right? And for him to put all that time in it, ending like that, I could see where he was very vengeful. Like, you know what I mean? He wanted.
Well, no fighter, it goes both ways. You don't want to lose because
That
of
was
DQ, and I'm sure
exactly, yeah.
you didn't want to win because of
No,
the DQ.
I wasn't happy from the win at all. The only thing was though that was gonna be like my last fight. Like that was
gonna be the retirement fight.
that was gonna be like
It's a rough way to go out.
I know that was gonna be it. And I remember, you know, he was upset about the call, and I even went to the back like after we got to the back, and I was like, hey man, I was like I don't want to win like that. You don't want to lose like that. I was like, we'll do it again. Like I'm fine with that, you know, because
Okay.
I truly wanted to test my skills against his, right? And then like I got married like 2 months after, and then after the marriage, you know, you have the honeymoon and all that. Like they were trying to like book that fight like like the
Immediately.
next month or like something. And I was like, no, I've got these obligations that I can't. And then he was getting on social media and like saying all this stuff. And then he did it right. Like, cause at first I was like, I don't care. I was like, this isn't like bothering me like that much. But then it got to a point where I was like, all right, he got
Under
it
your
because
skin?
he got under my skin like bad on that. And
Have you talked to him since?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, I have no hard feelings about him like at all. Like I like him. He's nice. Um, he was doing what was best for his business,
Yeah.
and I get it. You know what I mean? He thought that I, you know, gave up on the situation, which I mean, technically, I stopped initiating the takedowns to get the back of the head shots addressed. And then I'm in business for me, right? You're going to take the guy's point away from him. That's great for me, right? And then they took the point, but then they stopped it. And that was like, I didn't like that at all. But same time, I was like, well, I got, is what it is.
Forgive me for bringing it up, but the only reason I bring that up is because that whole it ties back into the conversation we were having about like making the stars and getting people invested in the UFC. I'll be the first person to tell you, even when we were in like the golden age, I didn't really get invested in a whole lot of other fighters.
Yeah.
Because a whole lot of other fighters, I hate to say it this way, I'm not trying to like belittle anybody, but they didn't do a lot to get me invested. That one, when I was invested because of the story, the narrative, how we got here. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, like even I cared about it. You know what I mean? I was like,
we're
I want to see
selling
the
fights.
conclusion of this. Yeah.
And that
So-
was the thing. It was, I remember, also too, when
Which
I
is
fought,
kind of a lost art now, even locally. Forgive me for saying that, but like we were talking, I have a lot of fighters on here, and I have this podcast. I talk to fighters all the time, and it's hard for me to keep up with all the fighters nowadays. Not from lack of trying.
there's no rivalries.
There's
no
no
nothing.
nothing, man. There's no like, dude. I don't even need people to talk shit, but like, do something, please. Like, get me invested in this.
Yeah.
Why do I care that you're fighting?
Does
that make sense?
Yeah, that's the thing. It was like we did it. We did a good job. I feel like on.
Oh, dude, there were
that.
gym rivalries. There were interpersonal rivalries.
Like,
It was. That's why I say, dude, it was the golden fucking age. It was.
Dude, I remember there was people that used to train at Finney's, that trained at St. Charles. That was, trying like, I'm a big fan of Bull. Like, it was every.
They didn't know who to cheer for.
Dude, it was crazy. I had
Jimmy Donahue.
I had good friends that trained at Finney's.
They were friends with you, but they were also friends with Adam.
Best friends with me, but training with Sal.
That's an awkward. That's an awkward cheer.
Yeah, it was great. And then, it was just one of those. That was fun.
I do miss it, brother.
I wish. Holy shit.
I wouldn't go back. I love where my life is now. I love where I'm at now, financially, spiritually, with my family and everything. But remember what I was saying earlier about like how I forget? Every time I have one of these conversations where we start reminiscing, I'm so glad I did it. I have no regrets. I don't regret a single fight. I don't regret a single. I'm glad everything happened. When I asked you the question earlier, like when you look back on it, like what kind of thoughts do you have? For me, it's overwhelming gratitude. And the only sadness I feel is that I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have at the time.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like when you're
in it, you think it's going to be forever.
That's how like this last power slap when I was in Abu Dhabi, I was like, man, so my coach Matt Hughes, he fought was one of the Gracies in the first Abu Dhabi card the UFC put on, right? So and Kyle Watson fought on that card, and that was the same night that I fought on Strikeforce.
Was it Hoyce?
No, I don't
not
think
Hoyce.
Hoyce.
Henner?
No.
Anyway, forgive me. Sorry,
Whatever.
I don't mean to derail you.
Either way, yeah. So that was the same night. I believe Kyle fought on that card as well. Yep. And that was the same night I fought Strikeforce. And I remember their stories about Abu Dhabi when they came back. Like, I remember Kyle, because we were always in the car traveling to Springfield to train on the weekends, like spar, because he was still fighting, like doing that as well.
Well, people forget that Kyle Watson was a UFC fighter.
Oh, yeah. He was a great fighter. And so I remember he'd always bring up stories about it. And I remember always being like, I'm going to fight in Abu Dhabi one day. And I wouldn't be damned I didn't get a call. Abu Dhabi, I was like, yeah, I don't care who it is. Like, send me over there. And I remember when I was in the back, I didn't feel any of the emotions that I was, like I was saying, addicted to. I didn't feel. I felt nothing. And I was going, and the kid I went against was and like, this is not a fight, but I know I lost the coin, so I know I'm getting hit.
It's also still dangerous.
Yeah, this is he's like huge in the arm wrestling community, arm wrestler. And he was a Uzbekistan national like wrestler.
Okay.
Like,
so an athlete.
Huge athlete, right? Big kid. And I thought I would care, like, or be nervous or have those feelings, but
nothing.
Not a single thing. So like as you know, I'm looking up at the big screen. You know, they're playing my highlights and my name and all this. I was like, this might be the last time I ever do this. Like, I
Wow.
was like, let's get some feeling, slap some hands on the way out, and
You were thinking that as you were about to make the
yeah,
walk.
as I was walking, because it was like the whole week, even leading into like being in the back, I felt nothing.
Are you done competing? Like,
No, no, I'll still do it. You know what I mean?
but you just told me that you didn't feel anything.
I didn't, but I'm not. I don't want to end off of. So this my last match. I got my orbital broke, right, and I knew I'm not bragging because he's standing in front of me with his hands behind his back, but I was gonna put him out. Like the first time I hit him, I didn't hit him with everything, and I seen his reaction. I just wanted to be clean. And then when I was going to get to the second one, I broke my thing. So whatever. But
Medical force.
yeah, so I at least want to have my hand raised one more time before I completely hang it up.
Does it? I hate that I'm asking this. Forgive me. Does it really matter to you to do that?
Mm.
Because it's like, this is something that I wrestle with because I ended on a loss, right? And my whole mentality is like, I'm not defined by how I ended it. I'm defined by my body of work. You brought up the fight with Cortavius. And by the way, thank you for doing that because it makes me feel like, thanks, man. Like, yeah, I did do that. And I did feel those things. I appreciate that. Like,
That was huge at the time. I don't know if you could sit back and appreciate it now, but the cocky kid that beat him that day, like, could you imagine like
I had another,
knowing what you did?
I had another fight lined up the next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I fought for
saying.
Fight
Like
Hard
you were
145 the
just
next week. I was a man on a
because you
mission.
knew it. You knew it. You know what I mean?
I knew I was going to
And
beat him,
it
and then I
happened.
knew I was going to beat the next guy, and
Yeah,
then I was going to go pro, and I did.
yeah.
But oh my god,
And look at Cortavius now, though. You know what I'm saying?
still a motherfucker,
You
still a
know what I'm
beast,
saying?
dude. You know what? I don't want to say this, but I fucking will. I do get offended. There are a lot of 135ers. Oh my god, I shouldn't have drank as much. There were a lot of 135ers that always fucking said no. That always fucking said no.
Yeah.
And Jesse does not like me. He is not a fan of me. But he will tell you this. Every fucking time they called me and every time they put a name in front of me, I never said no. I did not give a fuck. I did not care. To your point earlier about like who's the opponent, I didn't care because my mentality was like, if I want to be the best in the world, it shouldn't matter who was in front of me. 135, 145. I didn't fucking care. I did not care. And what irritates me the most about when I was an amateur, life was so fucking simple because it was just everybody wanted to fight everybody and everybody said yes. I don't think anybody ever turned me down for a fight as an amateur. The second I went pro, the fucking politics, the money isn't right. Shut the fuck up. What are we talking about? Money. You're getting paid $400 and $400. What do you want? 505? Okay, take it out of my purse. Shut the fuck up. Oh, now the date doesn't work. And it was always fucking something.
Yeah.
And people would start to like criticize you about stuff. And it's like, dude, I took the fights that I could fucking get whenever I could get them. When I was an 0-0 pro, everyone wanted to fight me. And then by the time I was like fourth fight as a pro, I could not find fights. I could not find fights. Tell you what, the next project that I'm working on is my own promotion. And I have no problem saying it out loud now because it's basically like everybody, it's like a known secret. You know what I mean? We're in talks with a venue and we have the team together from the matchmakers to the production and everything. And I cannot wait to compete on this new platform. Yeah. All we need is the 4-wall agreement, solidify with the legal teams, and have the finances and the P&L make sense. But I am so fucking ready for this next chapter. I'm like waiting, like I'm just sitting on capital. I'm ready to execute, and I just need someone to give me the green light. And
so, me and Charles were actually. So
I know with
we were
Ballpark
gonna
Village.
And whatever happened. But if you do that and you want to have some intermission slap fights,
I'm not opposed to it. You want to know? Here's the problem with creep and scope creep. It's so easy. So I'll tell you what I want. There's two things I want to do for certain. Number one, I want to get amateurs paid.
can't.
Yeah, you can.
Well, I mean, you can, but you can't.
Name, image, and likeness. Yes, I can. I can't pay anybody to fight, but I can pay them for
their
wearing
picture.
gear with
Yeah,
sponsor.
yeah,
No.
yeah. All
I
that.
can
Yeah,
sponsor the fighters
sponsors,
through
yeah. Through the promotion.
I want
yeah.
to. If I do this, Colton, I want to change the game. I want to change it. I want to create the promotion I wish we would have had.
You have to understand too, though. You're gonna have to find amateurs that are willing. You're gonna be willing to pay.
I agreed.
You know, because you know how a lot of these guys are.
Everything's
Come
opt
up
out.
in basketball shorts and never fought. Like you can find really good amateurs in the area, because all you need in a promotion, if you have 6 amateur fights and 1 pro fight, that's a good show. If you could,
Are you ready for my
good-
second one?
Yeah.
I have the luxury of having the superpower in all of business. I can operate at zero cost, like zero profitability. I don't need to make money from this. So imagine you have a promotion where I can break even and that's a success. It's my competitive advantage.
Well, most people can, but most people aren't.
Don't choose to. Dude,
They're not willing to.
let me tell you this.
You know what I mean? Because it's not about the sport at a
I,
certain
I want
point.
I
It's
want to be
about
careful.
the-
I want to be careful how I say this because I am a capitalist. I do believe in profitability. The only reason I can even talk about operating at zero margins is because I'm profitable in other endeavors, right? But the North Star is to create a promotion that I wish I would have had. That will, to the best of its abilities, take care as it can, and also to incorporate the community. To incorporate the community, what does that mean? The gyms, the apparel companies, the consumer products, like the equipment companies, like create a business that facilitates the growth of martial arts. It doesn't stagger it, doesn't kill it. It's sad that Wolves Den has to go and travel to get fights. That Shamrock, that St. Charles MMA has to travel to get fights, or they have. It's sad what we were talking about, the golden age of MMA. It's sad what it's become. It's sad what it's become. And no offense to Brad Carey and Marlene, they're not the ones to pick up the torch. NFA is great for what it's done, but they can't facilitate operationally. And Ian Zarvos and St. Louis Fight Sports, they do a great job for what they do, but they don't have any sort of like grander goals. Like they're just like, hey, 2-3 cards, we're gonna get some people some fights, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like no one has to sit there and do more than what they signed up for. But if we fucking do this, dude, I want to hit the ground fucking running. I do.
It would be good too if a promotion dropped the beer drinking, girls in bikini, car girl like gimmick. Does that make sense? Like when you said you bring the community in and show true martial arts, right? Those are things like how many, and especially in the St. Louis area, how many foster programs, how many, nonprofits and stuff that could you bring in to help with this, like to sell sodas, sell popcorn, and all the sales, all the profit goes back to them. You know what I mean? And then also show these kids what martial artists are.
Here's the active problem of everything you just said. You ready for this? How can I facilitate the growth of the monetary for the individuals competing while also...
No,
Does that make sense?
No,
Trust me, I've looked at,
100% get it.
I've run the numbers. I've done a lot of P&Ls now for this. Low, mid, high, what we would have to do, how many sponsors, what kind of sponsors, what would we charge for the price? Because I also want to make the tickets like $30 a pop. I think $65 to general admission. Go fuck yourself.
It's hard.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. For what? Your amateur buddy that you're only going in to see their fight because he's your buddy? It's a tough talk. Like, especially now that we were talking about, like, what is a Paramount Plus subscription? Sub $20 a month, and I can watch the best fighters in the world 3 times a month. And you're telling me I have to pay $70 to come watch an amateur buddy of mine fight? It's too much.
That's the thing. I mean, I was selling 100 tickets for Shamrock, and you know how much. And I was selling
$55 minimum.
I was selling tables,
Yeah.
so they were $200-300 plus dollars.
You ready for this one? My last fight, I sold 210 tickets. 210 tickets. I did the math. They were doing just fine.
You should have brought a gun in against that young boy.
They were, trust me, I think Jesse shed a tear when I lost.
Yeah, holy shit.
So
Hey, good for you for getting in there, because there ain't no fucking way that I would took that much time off. Seeing that cauliflower, square-headed, curly-headed kid and been talking as much shit as you did, and I applaud you for that.
I know what I'm signing up for. I just, you want to know my
I remember watching that, and I'm completely out of sport at this time, right? I'm watching it. You're back. I'm watching your promos, right? It's funny. It's great.
yeah.
It's,
Thank you. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, I know. And I remember this kid was like, what did he say? He's like, you said something about you've been fighting for so long, whatever. And he was like, I've been training since I was like four, six or
6'5".
something. And like you could
He
see
was
it.
already a brown belt
Yeah,
in
no, that's
jiu-jitsu.
what I'm saying. You could see it in his face, and like he had just the right amount of autism, like you know what I mean, and the twinkle in his eye. That I was like,
Oh no!
oh shit.
I said it before the fight. I go, listen, either this kid is overhyped and we're gonna find out, or he's
He
the
was
real deal,
not. No,
and
he
we're
was
gonna
not.
find
He
out.
was on a contender. I remember seeing him the second time I seen him was on there, and I was like, that kid's good,
Dude, he was amazing.
real good.
Dude, I will never stop saying the praises of Austin.
I've never
Bashi.
seen you get out wrestled. There was the night I fought Sean. You fought that Demetrius guy, right?
Yeah.
Was that a split decision?
He won the split decision.
He just laid. It was.
I still to this day, Colton thought I won that fight.
It wasn't a.
He was not happy with that win. Let me put it to you that way.
I don't think you would have even been happy with that win if I remember correctly, because
No.
it wasn't.
It was not a fun fight.
He
In the
wasn't-
first round, I'll tell you exactly how that went. I fucking dominated him.
Yeah, he
Dominated him. In the second round, he took me down, and like I was perplexed.
Remember, there's no exchanges.
Nothing.
There was like.
He took me down. He was body heading me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" It dawned on me. I was like, "You don't care about being exciting. You don't care about the next step. You just want to win this fight." So then in the third round, I hate to admit this out loud, but what I did was I told Drew and Mob, I go, "I'm going to take him down. I'm going to lay on him for exactly half the round. You let me know when it's 2.5 minutes, and then I'll get up and exchange with him." Because I was like, "How are you going to give? Even if he takes me down, even if he lays on me,
Yeah.
I controlled him for half the round, right? That was my mentality. I learned a lot from that fight. I never did that
So
again.
it was a less.
It was a lesson that I learned. And I was like, don't fucking go to try to win the judge's scorecard. Just go and fight. So that was a lesson I learned.
I remember watching that because I was.
But to this day, I still fucking think I won that fight.
I was
Sorry.
on deck. Either way around, it was like. It was. Where were we going at before that? Like to get into it.
The conversation beforehand about the promotion, about, oh my gosh.
It was a. No, I was saying I had never seen anybody be able to take you down.
Oh, yeah, physically dominate me? Dude,
Physically,
Bashi,
that
can I tell you
kid
something?
Was different.
Cortavius was the most physical specimen I had ever fought.
Yeah, he's
Okay?
Yeah.
Strength for strength, raw strength. No one, including Bashi, could stand to Cortavius. Cortavius did things that I thought previously were undoable. So like I mounted Cortavius in that fight, and I remember in the second round, I mounted him, and I was about to throw punches because I was still an amateur. We couldn't throw
threw
elbows.
you.
No, what he did was he literally bench pressed
Yeah,
me
he-
off of him.
Just picked you up.
And I looked at Mop and Drew and I go, guys, I love you. I'm not finishing this guy. There's nothing I can physically do other than catch him coming in.
No,
to finish
that was,
this guy.
Trust me, that was
But Bashi
he was
was
tight.
technically the reason I retired more than any other was not because I lost. I could deal with, like, if he would have knocked me out in the first 30 seconds, I could be like, hey, he caught
Happens to
me.
everybody.
He caught me. I'll get back in there. The reason I quit was if you give me that fight 10 times, I lose 10 times.
He's a Velcro baby. He
Does that make
glued-
sense?
Yeah, no.
I'm not beating him. And he's 20 years old. I was 28, 29. I just turned 29. Father Time's not on my side. I'm trying to be the best in the world. A lot of people around me were just like, you can still make it to the UFC. And what? Fight for... I want to be careful how I say this. My mentality was like, and what? Fight for 12 and 12?
That's the thing. It's like, well, you were at
I'm not
a
trying to be
situation.
an asshole, but...
You were at a situation where you turned, your finances and everything. You were.
I had
focused
options.
On, yeah, you
I
had
had
options.
options.
It's kind of like how, like me doing this. I mean, I financially, and I'm not saying that to
It's not a flex. It's a reality.
It's just there's not a lot of reward to my risk doing this, other than my own personal
Physical well-being.
like the only gain I'm getting is my personal need for competition. That's it. Like it only hurts everybody else. I'm away from my family. Like I'm away from my kids. They don't like me coming home like face swollen and all. Like nobody wins from it. I'm blessed enough that my wife allows and everybody gets it. Like she's been around me long enough to get like she was at Brad Jones like when I thought we were just dating.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? Like
Damn.
she gets that
Shout out Colton's wife.
yeah, this is my personal like I have to I have to do these things. And it's so yeah, there's no and that'll take a lot of a fighter because like if you went into your last fight, right? And you like you said, the guy beat you 10 out of 10 times, right? But say Jesse paid you your show and your win money before you even walked in. You would have fucking really lost that fight. He would have took the whole fight out of you, right?
No. No, I was making good money back then, brother. Believe me when I tell you I never fought once for the cash. Can I tell you the truth? I negotiated the contract on principle only. I never did anything with the money. Like I would take the money that I would ever make from fighting and I would immediately buy some stock. I never once spent the money that I made from fighting on anything other than my own private brokerage.
At the time when I was doing MMA, like, yeah, I needed that money.
I was making $75K a year, 22 years old.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I fought exclusively for the love of the game.
At 22, you were making $75K?
Yeah.
See, if I was making $75K at 28.
But just for context, I was fucking broke until then. Until 22? Yeah.
Everybody is.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like I was living on QT hot dogs and
fucking shit.
You know what I mean?
You were 20.
Yeah.
You were 22. Like
until I graduated college, that's when I got my big boy job and
that's the
everything was
thing.
fine.
You stuck with college. You did all that, which is good. But
that's why I waited to go pro. I didn't go pro. The reason why I challenged myself and all that stuff was like because I knew I was about to end college. I was about to get my degree, and then I was going to go pro. So I was like, now's the time.
See, I don't know. Yeah, so that's crazy knowing that you went pro
right out of graduating college.
And what was the median salary like after graduation?
$48,000.
That's still way fucking better than you were ever going to get your first year of pro fighting.
Do you want to know?
Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy that you got in there knowing, like, okay, I have this.
When I fought Bashy, I was making a lot more than $75,000.
Sure.
The only reason I was still doing it was because I wanted to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
It sounds so like
it sounds
lame,
crazy to a lot of people.
But like that was like, okay, this is it. And then the second I realized that I wasn't going to be it, I walked away.
This is it.
It's hard. There's moments we were talking about it. Like, you feel like you still got it. I can still get in there and beat the shit out of a lot of fucking people.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? But the problem is for what? For what legacy? For what? Like, I love fighting. I love everything about fighting. I miss fighting. But the problem is I'm now married with kids. I have businesses. I have people. I have 11 families that require my diligence, my responsibility. I'm no longer afforded the ability to be selfish, not to be the best in the world. I can do a jiu-jitsu match. Maybe I could even do a slap fighting. But you and I both know that we can no longer dedicate a 6-month fucking camp, 2-3 hours a day, 6 days a week to get back into shape, to get mentally ready, to get physically ready. I just can't do it. To what? Fight a world-class killer up-and-comer? Because I'm a 6-2 pro. In my last fight, it was against a guy in the UFC now. So who am I going to fight? Some tomato can? What do I look like?
Yeah, no,
that's not me.
Trust me, I'm like...
But I miss it.
Yeah, I miss it all the time, but there's just, like, just the thought of me having being, like, just not even, like, this isn't fight shape. I'm not saying this is what you need to be in fight shape if anybody's watching. But just the thought of me running a mile without stopping makes me want to fucking puke right now.
Yeah.
Like, dude, there ain't no way.
You want to know what I thought about doing?
Huh.
One fight at heavyweight. You know how Sean fought at heavyweight and then cut down to 145? I want to fight at 135 and then heavyweight.
Good Lord.
Brother, we are 3 hours in.
Yeah, you would end up with like Gable Stevenson or something.
Dude, I hope not.
Oh, shit. Well, guess what? You won the Olympics, but you got your ass whooped over here by this guy.
I fucking wish. No, I
You'd commit.
every time I start to get that itch, I then start to get like that respect of like, dude, what am I gonna do? Half-ass this and go against the guys that were like me, that were putting their all into it. If I'm not gonna commit to this, I don't deserve to be in there. That's the way I look at it.
I never deserved to, like, I didn't deserve to win any of the fights I had lost or, you know, didn't win. I'll admit that. Like, I have no problem now. I'm not fighting again. Nobody's going to use that footage and be like, oh my God, you see, he's going to lose because he, like, no. Like, listen, one, I think I should get more respect for being more of a badass. I'll go in and fight top level pros with no training. Yeah. Think about it. Would you go and fight a pro fighter right now? You're like, well, you've
For
had
free?
a couple.
No.
Yeah, you've had a couple drinks.
No.
Yeah,
I always say there's no such thing as a bad job, only bad salaries. I'll fight anybody on this planet for the right money.
Yeah, my thing was this, like, I just lost passion. I told you, like, after the whole gym changed and everything, it was just tough for me to get back mentally because, like I said, I went from training with guys in the UFC, like top guys, Strikeforce, UFC, to going and training with the same couple guys. I'd go in the fight. It'd be a 3-round decision loss and just mentally just wear on you. I was done long before, but I feel like I was selfish and just wanted to get that fixed.
That was the factor. That was the factor.
Yeah.
I would have continued if I didn't have a wife and kid. I would have continued fighting.
Oh, we all would. Yeah.
I just wouldn't have thought about being the best in the world. I would have just done whatever it is that I would have done.
Yeah.
But the real calculus of my quitting was, okay, if I'm not going to be the best, my wife was pregnant at the time. We were about to have our first kid.
And it's a very selfish sport.
Dude, 25, 30 hours a week I spent on it.
And like,
I was able to build 2 businesses off of not doing martial arts. Yeah. That's how much free time that gave me.
I get it. No, it's you have to, the best in the world are very, very selfish people.
They're dedicated to their craft.
And that's what it takes.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but also, these guys are changing the circle they do have in their lives completely around.
Unfortunately for me.
Unfortunately, hey, no, I mean, I gave him my shot, as well, and it just didn't. It was just so many years ago. It's just hard to remember. But there was a time I didn't want to just. There was a time where I knew when I was an amateur I was going to be in the UFC, and then the thing was, like, when I would spar with, like, Matt, right, and striking, Matt was never known for striking, right? You're sparring guys like this, and you're seeing blimps of good and great and all that. So I was the same as you. I was on a path where I thought I was gonna, wanted to be the best in the world, and then when you just keep falling short and you keep missing, you hit a mark. And then now you think you're going to get somewhere else, and then you go down, and it's almost like you take one step forward, 15 steps back in MMA. Because it's not like any other sport in the world where there's seasons. Doesn't matter what last season's record was, you got to start over.
Yep.
You carry your record for as many years as you do it for life. And that's tough. It weighs on you mentally, too. Because...
while you're still fighting.
Oh,
yes.
It was super weighs on you. You get to a point where you're under 500. Now you're like, all right, let me get back to 500, work up. And you could not lost a fight in 2 years, but only had a few.
How about this one? Let me do you one better. I was a 10-0 amateur, multiple weight champion, multiple promotion champion, and going into my 3rd fight, I was 1-1. Do you know how petrified I was? I was a 500 fighter. I was 1-1. I was like, I can't lose it. I cannot lose this fight. How can I be 1-2? when I fought Scott Etling, it was the worst performance I ever had in my life because I didn't fight to knock someone out or to hurt someone. I was fighting to not lose. And if you ask me like what I'm most upset with in my career, it's how I came out for my third pro fight. That was the one time in my life where I wasn't a fighter. I was an athlete. And I never watched that fight. I was so upset with my performance. I got the win, cool, okay. I did not I didn't want to win like that, and Scott deserved a killer Arion, not a petrified one. And I told myself I'll never do that again, and I never did. But to your point about the mental acuity and everything, MMA is business is so much easier than fighting.
Oh yeah, like yeah, because I went from 22-2, went pro, and within my first 4 fights, I was 1-3. And I couldn't believe how that happened. Couldn't believe it because you come from. I only lost when I was training in like a garage, like first starting. Right, I was on a fucking streak.
Tear afterwards.
Like it got to the point where I would get in the cage and I'd look across and I would just wonder, like, I wonder how I'm gonna beat this guy. You think I'm gonna submit him? Like, talk to myself. There was no question. Then I lost a couple as a pro, and then it turned into. I remember it was funny you say that. Every single fight from the time I fought, before Brad, even like when I got to like 1-2, like when my music would play, the only thing I kept repeating in my head was just win,
Just fucking win.
just win,
Just win.
just win, just win.
Just don't lose.
Yeah,
just don't lose.
win, just win. And I'd say that over and over again, just win. Whatever, it don't matter, just win. You know what I mean?
I'm not proud of it, but that was the one fight.
Yeah.
Coltin, thank you for coming in.
I appreciate it.
This was an immense joy for me. One of our longest episodes. I hope this is what you expected. I hope it was fun. Before we put a cap on it, is there anything else you want to say, end with? The floor is yours.
No, I've got nothing.
Well, dude, thank you for being a guest. Truly. This was a joy for me.
Yep. Me too, man.